Hey everybody, welcome to the third episode of the Planet Junction Podcast. It's your girl Rage here, coming in as a co-host to our lovely two other hosts here. This January 26th.
Wow, thank you for calling me lovely. I very much appreciate it.
I take it back.
I'm very much speechless right now. As ironic, as like self-contradictory that statement was.
I'm sorry, the fuck did I do?
You didn't do anything wrong. Just go with it.
It's your boy, the dude, along with...
That's Matt.
And we thank our lovely, lovely introduction by our very own Rage.
I feel like I'm being mocked.
Oh, horribly.
What'd I do?
Nothing, I'm just...
You didn't do anything.
I'm just yanking your chain.
By the way, I'm getting some real bad on this mic here. I'm sorry, I'll back up a little.
Alright, that's good, and of course...
I think the computer doesn't normally pick that up in the end.
Nah, usually not.
Especially if you have a pop... Well, I don't know if it's the case for you because I have a pop filter.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, so I don't know if it's doing that for you.
A little bit of technical production for you guys. We're kind of working out of a college, on a college student's budget.
Basically, we're broke.
This room is fucking shit, is what he wants to say.
Oh, and this room is really shit.
This room is fucking shit. We're trying to get like a smaller room so there's not as much echo. So we apologize for the inconveniences in regards to the echo for the first 3 episodes, but this is what we have to work with thus far.
Yeah, and we also have a different mic that might also make some echo, and a few other things sound a little bit better or a little bit worse. Of course, we'll figure that out in the next few weeks. However, in the meantime, let's get started with our show.
Well, shit, way to fucking jump into it.
Okay, so it's been 4 days since we recorded the last podcast, if it's okay if I say that.
Man, you're time stamping everything, aren't you?
It's only been 4 days. I mean,
at 9:39 p.m.
But the thing is, a lot has happened during these last 4 days.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, okay, so I guess Matt's filled to the brim with rant tonight?
It's not that I'm filled to the brim with rant. There was just like a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I remember.
Our last episode, like we had like 3 stories that we had like 4 stories that we somehow managed to stretch over like an hour.
Yeah, it was funny. I looked down at my phone and I get a text from Matt here, and he's like, "Dude, we have so much to talk about tonight."
Did you actually like look at the document that I sent you?
I did not see the document at the time.
You should probably pull it up.
I have it now. Yeah, and I've looked it over. But
apparently he's been updating the document all day. I didn't see this until we sat down. I guess I haven't been paying attention for the last 4 days because I haven't heard half this shit.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be the guy that's kind of recluse from what happens in the world. But
hey, I can hear that through the mic.
Headphones. And that can be edited out. Okay.
It's a good thing you weren't watching porn this time, am I right, huh?
Thanks for making it weird.
I do that.
Anyway, what's the first story we got?
So the first story we have today is that a bunch of angry Minnesota protesters shut down a House committee meeting over HF 322.
And what's
the bill would essentially allow people to sue protesters for potential misconduct. The thing is, I'm actually like really glad this bill wasn't enacted in place because let's be totally honest, this bill is going to be abused to fucking hell and back.
It would be abused, but I can kind of understand where it would be coming from for something like this.
I definitely agree with that because like as happy as I am that this bill got shut down, I don't think it's beyond reason to suggest that maybe perhaps people shouldn't be allowed to block major roads. I don't think it's beyond reason to suggest that maybe people shouldn't be allowed to block like major buildings where people actually have to like do their job. Like there are people who have died like in ambulances because the road has been blocked by like angry protesters. So I do understand where that's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, if protesters are protesting, say they're doing a march to protest Donald Trump, mm-hmm. and their march happens to take them in front of a hospital. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not okay. That will result in deaths. That is not fine.
I mean, also I think it's a problem because it also creates jobs that probably shouldn't exist. Like, have you ever heard like outside of like Planned Parenthood facilities that people actually have to be hired to like escort people inside of the buildings because the protesters outside are like so like freaking animalistic and rambunctious.
Yeah.
So like I have no like the thing is like I have no issue with like civil disobedience. My problem comes in with it is that when it's actually like causing like active harm to people. So so. You really shouldn't. I don't think. I just think people shouldn't be allowed to block roads because that fucks with a lot of people's work, and like I just said, it can actually like cause like actual harm to people by blocking their access to the necessary resource they need, like get help.
Listen, you people can handle a little bit of death and inconvenience just as long as I'm able to get my feelings out.
That was too good.
That was too good.
That was really too good. But like,
Thanks.
although it's weird because you can't really, it kind of goes against the Constitution in a way because
This bill or the
well, like the bill, because yes, everyone does have the freedom of speech, the right to protest, and by simply being in a public place to protest, you can't really be faulted for it. But there are some cases, like with major roads or with important places like hospitals, that it does lead to complications. But you just have. The bill will have to be very comprehensive in how it's
going to be a lot more complex than just allowing people to sue, because there was a documentary that I watched in regards to I was just out of curiosity. I watched like a right-winger. It was a documentary about like Japanese right-wingers and like protesting about them, like protesting about like Western society embassies being in Japan. Like they don't want embassies of Russia being there. They don't want embassies of the United States being there as well. And one of the laws regarding like they have these vehicles where they have like these speakers attached to them, and they like bless you.
Thank you.
And if they're louder than like a certain number of decibels, then they could just outright arrest them. So what the policemen do is that they just like immediately run up to these vehicles and just stay there with a microphone the entire time, just waiting for that one moment they cross that threshold just to arrest them. So I think I can see the intention behind any law regarding protesting, but it's just bound to be abused.
Yeah, and that's a sad thing because I mean this bill is not really it's not a partisan thing. Like this is a bill that Democrats, Republicans, all really should work on together, because this is not a strong partisan issue. This is just something that has ended up happening because of how protests have, gotten out of hand as of late. So
I mean, the thing is, like, it's kind of hard to disincentivize, like, if this bill was in place to like disincentivize protesting, like, don't you think it's already kind of hard to do that, considering that you can already be like arrested and tried for disorderly conduct in like a public sphere, especially in regards to protesting, like especially when you're rioting, like burning down buildings, cars, and just smashing into people's property.
Exactly. I mean,
it's like these people don't give a shit. Like they really don't. Mm-mm. Like I'm not talking. I shouldn't word it that way. People who riot don't give a shit.
They really
like,
don't.
Plus, I don't even think people who are there to riot are even there to actually like legitimately protest. I personally think they're there just to start confrontation and just get like a rush out of that. But like, they don't give a shit. They're going to do it regardless.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you look back at civil rights activists, they got arrested, and if they got arrested, they probably weren't happy, but they knew the risk. They knew that was something that was probably going to happen to them. But because they believed so strongly in their cause, they didn't care. Nowadays, if you
I wouldn't even say like they were personally venerated because they didn't care. I think they were venerated because of the fact that them getting arrested kind of proved their point.
Yeah, it helped their issue.
Yes.
But nowadays, like I'm not going to say that back in the day that you were glad to be arrested, but it kind of did help your cause if you were, because it meant that you were being heard and that they had to deal with, like, you were important enough and your issue was important enough that you had to be dealt with.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's kind of getting to the point where if you're a protester, you want to protest, but you also don't want to get in trouble for it. But the thing is, if you're protesting, you're probably going to get in trouble for it if you do something bad, like, get violent or something. I mean, I don't think people should just be allowed to be like, oh, I want to do things like tip over vans and do and of course it's an extreme example, but I want to flip cars or do stuff and not get in trouble for it. Well, of course you're going to get in trouble for it. I mean, that's just dumb if you don't.
I mean, I think another huge issue in regards to protesting, that it's very difficult to do crowd control, because the very moment like one person like fucks up and does something bad, it's like everyone fits the description. Everyone gets profiled into that group. So that's when the tear gas starts being thrown. That's when like those shotguns come out, and that's when innocent people start getting hurt. So that's just going to add to the discourse even more. So,
well, that reminded me. In a class I'm currently taking, last week we had this discussion on nonviolent protest, and we had some of the students in class, talking about it, and I was one of the people that also, put my opinion out there the most. And this one person tried to defend violent protesters by saying, well, people sometimes need to get violent to have their voice heard. I mean,
is it basically just summing it up by saying that the rioting is a language of the unheard?
Kind of.
I tend to hear that quote a lot in regards to defending rioting.
Kind of, but this.
No, we all speak English, I promise.
Kind of, but this was the exact quote this kid used.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to burn a limo or two to get your point across. And after she said that, I was just snickering and laughing.
I mean, like, what point are you getting across by burning a limo? You're just burning a limo.
Exactly. You're burning a limo to protest the injustices, quote unquote. And if you're going to do something to protest, have a clear, defined reason for doing what you're doing. And this is like what we talked about last week. Because if you don't have an end goal, you're not really being an activist. You're just being a nuisance.
Rabble-rouser, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, what is burning a limo or two? That was.
Why stop at one?
But that kind of reminds me, because there is a bit of nuance that I personally felt we kind of glanced over in that discussion. Because yesterday with a couple of friends, we were talking about the Women's March, and then I brought up the point that I think it's kind of neat that all these people just got out of bed one day and just decided to collectively get out on the streets. To me, I think that is kind of indicative of strength. I'm not saying I'm necessarily for the image, but the problem with the protest was that everyone was there for their own personal goal. By the time they got there, they weren't even just protest. They were everyone was trying to protest their own thing. So everyone was essentially drowning out each other's protests. So I think to a degree there are certain people do have end goals when they protest, but because of the fact that there's so many things that anyone can protest at any given time, they just tend to drown each other out.
Yeah,
to the point where they just utter one thing they could all agree on, which was basically fuck Donald Trump.
Yeah, and of course you feel free to do that as much as you want. Heck, with social media, it's easier than ever to get your distaste for a political candidate or a famous figure out there. And while I do respect the fact that the Women's March, just kind of happened as a spur of a moment as it did, there wasn't a defined, there wasn't a goal behind it.
There really wasn't. It was just I think it was just a bunch of people trying to pitch their goals just out of their, but they're all doing it out of their the one thing they had in common, which was their distaste for Donald Trump. Yeah,
and I mean another great example, and it's not really from a protest, but it was a spontaneous rally. Was back during after 9/11. After 9/11, there were so many Americans that no matter where they were from, what walk of life they were from, there were people that just, showed up to these big, large, unplanned rallies to show patriotic support for, those who'd lost their lives.
Okay.
That's different from protesting in the fact that you don't need an end goal.
Because they're already...
It's different and the same.
I would say it's pretty similar, because the one thing that's uniting all these people is their laments over the people who lost their lives. There could have been a myriad of people who were there just to say, I want to kill every fucking Muslim I see just to avenge these people who died.
There were. And again, with all those rallies that, happened to show patriotism, there wasn't really an end goal. There was not really everyone came together to get something done. But it was still kind of impressive that so many Americans...
That so many people were able to just unify over that one little thing.
And it's so spontaneously, too, not planned, like this Women's March. But the Women's March, just like those rallies where you got together to show your patriotism, didn't have a clear end goal.
All right.
And of course, we have a lot of stories to get to, so
you want to move on?
Let's move on.
Do we really know if the Women's March was unplanned? I kind of got my conspiracy theorist hat out on that one, but
I highly doubt that it was unplanned, because I highly doubt it was unplanned, because there were people who were going on a set date. It wasn't just a spontaneous thing. People were talking about. I read social media posts about people talking about they were going to go on this certain date.
Yeah.
So it was definitely planned.
Yeah,
out.
but I guess I kind of mean that when I said that, because I realized when I said spontaneous, I didn't mean happened the day of, where people just woke up and decided all to go. Of course there is some planning, but not the planning you would traditionally think of for events. They didn't plan this months ahead of time. They didn't, have all of these we're going to push this issue, and no. But for a relative lack of planning. I mean, it wasn't the Watch on Marching The March on Washington.
The Wash on Washington.
The Wash on Washington.
The Wash on Washington.
Like back for civil rights, it wasn't planned like, weeks and months in advance. And
sounds like a shitty South Park episode.
It really does.
Wash on Washington.
And, but, like, they didn't get, like, 1 billion buses lined up to transport people from all over the country. They didn't have, like, it wasn't to that extent. It was relatively unplanned is what I guess I meant.
Well, then there were some, like, organized marches that came after that, like, trending on Twitter the other day. Look, we're all retarded here. Something like the Scientists March on Washington, because something due to climate change. It's like, can you people just... I'm so sick of marching. I don't know. I'm real tired.
Are you saying, like, you're tired of, like... Are you saying you're tired of, like, people doing it in general, or are you just tired of, like, people... Or are you just tired of hearing about it?
Kind of both.
Because the thing is, I have no problem with people marching, provided that they do it, like, peacefully.
And it doesn't bother you.
But I kind of wonder, like, after so much time, how...
Are you basically, like, asking, like, do you guys ever get tired after a while, or just...
Kind of, and it's also, like, after so many successive marches, don't you just kind of lose the impact? Because these were all, like, days apart.
But the thing is, like, what defines a successful march?
That's a good point.
Because, like, I don't think, like, success would be defined as, like, people, like, burning down shit, because, like, no one wants medicines.
I think it's more of just, like, an exhaustion that every single group that feels the slightest bit victimized by Trump has to go out and march.
I mean, I guess at this point with Trump, it's, yes, there's all these marches against Trump, but it's kind of like the law of diminishing value, where it's like, the first march had an impact, like, was known, it had an impact.
And it just, like, gets old after a while.
And then the next march meant a little less, and then a little less, because it's happening so much that it gets to the part where it's like, oh, all of our house pets are now gathering together to protest Trump, and everyone's like, who cares? Yeah, who cares at this point? Because so many people have done it. What's different from this and all the others, aside from the fact they're adorable house pets?
Anyway, hey, you guys sick of hearing the word Trump during this podcast? Too damn bad.
Because, I'm sorry, but, like, we're going to be talking about Trump a lot, because...
What's the next issue? The next story?
You might as well ask me, like, what's the next bad thing Trump did, or Trump said, or whatever, but,
Go down the list. You'll be talking a lot.
Actually, no, this is the first thing. Sorry, this is the first thing that Trump did for this episode.
You're gonna be talking a lot about Donald Trump. I'm not, because, like I said, I don't even know what's going on here.
So once again, this really isn't anything new, but I feel like I wanted to bring it up because I think we should probably talk about it. Trump is still saying that millions of illegal immigrants voted.
Okay.
And he's basically, like, claiming that, we must do another election now. Like, but the thing that's...
Wait, he's claiming that we should do another election?
I think he's just, like, talking shit at this point, or just trolling, which I'll get to in a bit, because that's one thing that pisses me off.
Yes.
But the thing is, like, even if... First of all, illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote.
Yeah.
They can't vote. And even if, like, some of them, a small number of them found, like, a way around the system just to cast their vote. Like, do you really think that's going to make, like, such a marginal difference in the popular vote anyway? Like,
here's kind of the thing, I think, and it's because voter fraud has been a thing for many, many years. If I had to give a rough estimation, of course, I don't know the statistics. I don't have any, clear, like, idea of exactly how many illegals voted. But if I were to just throw out a number, I would say that, probably across the whole country, because we are a pretty large country with a large population of people, I would say maybe there was somewhere between 100 and maybe 200 or 300,000 illegals that managed, like, that cared and wanted to vote and found a way to do that. While I know that would have that's a very little portion of the population, and it could have an impact. But
the thing, I personally don't think it would happen. I personally don't think it happened to the extent of, like, 200, 300,000 people. I would imagine, like, it would probably happen in, like, the tens of thousands, but I don't think it happened in, like, the hundreds of thousands.
Well, the only reason I say that is because, and I'm definitely highballing it. I'm not saying, like, 1 million illegal immigrants or anything, but even if that was true, like, let's just for this point of this argument assume
that, like, 300,000, like, illegals voted.
Yeah.
All right.
That did have that would have had a very minor effect on the election, like a very minor. It wouldn't have.
But the problem is that, like, of course, the majority of them were going to vote Democrat. But the thing is, like, Trump had a surprising minority vote this election.
Exactly. I mean,
so I really don't see I really don't see where they're coming from. Like a lot of people are coming from stating that that 3 million lead that Hillary Clinton had on Donald Trump in the popular vote came strictly from people who voted illegally. Like that's not even statistically fucking possible.
Not strictly. And here's the weird thing about it is that voter fraud has happened for years, many, many years. And every year, I know it's always a controversial issue of how should we work to mitigate illegal, voting fraud. And we do different things every election. Some laws are stricter in some states, some aren't. And that's, whatever you think about that, that's your political ideology, how that should be worked on or solved or whatever.
All right.
Whatever that is. But for Trump to, kind of claim that so many illegals voted that it had a large effect on the election, I say bullshit.
I'm definitely saying bullshit, but I do kind of agree with you that perhaps it is possible that some illegals did vote because I would imagine voter fraud is a thing. We could probably debate about how much of an impact voter fraud has on the general elections, but at the same time, but at the end of the day, we're both agreeing that Donald Trump is basically full of shit. We're saying that millions of illegals.
Trump, you won.
You won. Who the fuck cares? Again, why are we back at this square?
Trump, not only did you win, but you also. And when I mentioned earlier that, and I told you about this before the podcast, but just 2 days ago, I had to give a speech in that one class that I was told you about where we talked about the nonviolent protest.
Yes.
I had to give a speech on demographics, on how on how to communicate with demographics, different demographics. And I mentioned, I did my paper on an article that was called 7 Reasons Why Donald Trump Won the Election. And one of the reasons was because Donald Trump had this strange talent, this strange gift, or his administration did, of getting certain demographics to vote for him.
Definitely, because he just I gotta be careful how I word this, because I think he appealed to a lot of I don't want to call them simple-minded inherently, but he did appeal to a lot of people who wanted to think of the general election very simply by just using very. Because did you know? Because did you ever hear about the fact that he has he speaks a 4th grade level whenever he talks to the general population? So yeah, that's just general speak. That's just general pattern of language or dialect just happens to reach a lot of people, and he's just basically telling them things that they just want to hear. They don't want to be told what's going to happen. They just want to be told that things are going to be okay and they're going to be fine.
And here's the thing: I was actually discussing with Rage over dinner the other day, and she mentioned how I probably went too much into it, but there's this general error. Have you ever heard the thing of people saying that smart people vote? We're going to vote for Hillary.
Smart people vote for Hillary. I've heard of studies that state that higher educated people tend to vote Democrat, but I didn't hear the exact thing that stated smart people were going to vote for Hillary.
Well, that was a general thing I heard where people were like, "Oh, if you're smart, you'll vote for Hillary," because people wanted to
that sounds like some bullshit Casey Neistat tried to pitch to the entire YouTube community.
Well, see, it's really stupid, and I kind of came at it on this way. If you think of the American population on a spectrum, you have people who are don't have a college education. People that are in the lower middle class, the working class.
Just said uneducated. It wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, I know. But I just want to make sure I'm getting this clear, so I'm not offending anyone or kind of misrepresenting people. And then there are the people who are college educated and just are typically considered as smart or intelligent. You have Democrats and Republicans on both ends of that spectrum.
Oh, definitely.
But the thing is, when people, and especially since Hillary and the DNC and her campaign definitely tried to target, that liberal vote, those smarter people.
Weren't a lot of those people weren't a lot of those people Bernie supporters anyway?
Exactly. But the thing is that if I were to take that thing where, smart people vote for Hillary and boil it down, smart people might vote for Hillary, or it wouldn't be smart people vote for Hillary. It would be intellectuals, or people who identify as intellectuals or, have a high education would vote for Hillary.
But I definitely agree with you in that, because I don't think it's offensive to state that to just state a fact that people who are higher educated will tend to vote for like a certain candidate or something like that. But I think it's like super fucking condescending to state that, oh, if you're smart, you will vote for this one candidate.
Well, and that's the thing about Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump and how their campaigns handled everything, is that if the Democrats would have wanted to, like, if Hillary wanted to win this election, she did a horrible job at targeting certain demographics. Because not only did she...
I would say because she had no fucking persona whatsoever.
And she
was completely, like, manufactured. She was, like, completely synthetic. It's like... I've heard people, like, joke about her being, like, some fucking, like, reptilian corporatist shill.
Well, did you ever hear about the during her things that, you know, they were using analytics? They were using...
What kind of analytics?
Well, like, they were using the best statistics that the DNC could muster up about their voters and trying... it was one thing I remember hearing during one of her debates against Trump, is that they were going to like help solve a lot of our nation's problems, to use the best analytics they could, the best statistics, the best technology they could to figure out, you know, what works best for the country. And she said, it was said very generally, very broadly. But the thing is that if they were using those statistics to, you know, figure out how people were going to vote, they did a very poor job of it, because there were so many demographics that should have been easy pickings for Hillary to get, like Muslim and Arab Americans. That should have been a really easy vote for Hillary to pick up.
I personally don't think it would have been easy, because like Bernie spoke to those people a hell of a lot more than Hillary did.
Yeah,
in fact, I think I might be talking completely out of my ass, but I think Hillary Clinton actually has one of the lowest approval ratings of any Democratic candidate.
No, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that, because Bernie did talk to those people, and a lot of them were Bernie supporters. However, after a lot of the things that Trump said, you would have expected that if you were running for the Democratic candidacy, or if you were running for president, in your strategy, would you have not tried to talk to them a little bit more and pick up their vote?
I just think she tried. I just think she fucked up in trying to like repeatedly like pull the woman card, because she was really only like trying to appeal to one demographic. I would say it worked to a certain extent, considering that it's hard for me to say like whether like how much it actually worked, because let's face it, I think the vast majority of people who voted for Hillary Clinton only like voted for her because they were just against Donald Trump. I think it had nothing to do with like whether or not they cared about Hillary's policies or anything of that nature.
No, and I will get to rage here in a second, but and I've even explained this to people. Donald Trump is one of the more liberal Republican candidates we've ever had.
I still think he's a fucking idiot who's like fucking shit up.
He's a fucking idiot, but that's neither here nor there.
I don't think he's automatically like venerated for me like dumb shit he's doing because he's like left leaning like
no.
But it is important to note that he is a fairly left leaning Republican.
The fact is that there are a lot of issues that, especially social issues, that Hillary and Trump are both like not even a step away from. They're very similar.
They're very similar, yes.
And it basically came down to personality. Like, and I hate to say that's how an election was won, but it's happened for years. Is that
I would say Trump's cult of personality definitely did win the election.
Yeah. But again, that leads to the thing where it's like, because Donald Trump just ran a better campaign. He focused on these groups of people that Hillary and her campaign didn't focus on, and did it better. Do you remember the whole debacle with the Hillary is not my abuela?
Is my what?
All right. So Hillary tried to do...
Hillary is not my abuela? Is
yeah.
that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, well, Hillary Clinton, her campaign released a big online campaign with this article or this like thing that they did, where it was like 7 ways that Hillary Clinton is like your abuela, is like your grandmother.
My grandmother. Fuck off.
And here's the thing.
Off.
Here's the thing.
Fuck off.
She lost so much, at least online support, from what I remember. There was an outrage about her trying to pander to the Hispanic population like that. And it's funny because I was looking at when I was doing this demographic thing for class, I was looking at how people voted. Trump got a lot more of a Hispanic vote than he should have. He got a lot more of the African American vote than you would have expected. He got a lot more of the Arab American and Muslim vote than you would have expected.
What are the actual? Do you know what the actual numbers are in terms of like his minority vote? Because like I heard, because from what I know is that he had a higher minority vote percentage than Mitt Romney did.
He did,
but I heard someone claim that that was because of the Voters' Rights Act being like reappealed or something like that.
Honestly, I don't think it. I don't think that might have had.
I would have to look at the numbers because I would. But I would think that the numbers were slightly higher in terms of the minority vote because he had a surprising like high black vote.
Yeah, and that's again partially because of how he worked his campaign and just the general difference in charisma and personality between him and Hillary.
Speaking of the black vote, I read this like post of someone saying that Donald Trump is going to secure the black vote in 2020. That shit had me fucking dying laughing.
But here's the thing. If the Democrats have another candidate like Hillary,
he probably would.
He probably will.
I still don't think he would at that point.
But he would do a lot better than you would.
He would do a lot better, but I still don't think he would secure the black vote. He would just I think he would just chip out another percentage or like 10 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. And of course we'll get to Reg since she was been waiting patiently. But I guess I'll just wrap up this point with the fact that Hillary's campaign handled things so badly that there were these demographics that Trump, kind of offended with some of his comments, and somehow he still got more votes from these demographics he insulted because Hillary Clinton and her campaign did not work hard enough to just swoop in and get those votes, which would have been so easy to do.
All right. So what did Rage want to
say? I think probably the main cancer on Hillary's campaign, aside from smugness, was also just all the sheer fucking pandering that she was constantly shilling out. Like, I remember so many of my online acquaintances were like, vote for Hillary because she's a woman, and so many of them are still crowing about misogyny and
I'm sorry, but I fucking hate that logic. Like, if you're gonna vote someone because they're a woman, there would be literally nothing about your vote if you were to literally put vagina on it and cast it.
People, if there's a candidate and the majority of what they're doing is trying to appeal to your genitalia, race, or whatever sexuality, ethnic group you apply to, they're fucking using you. You're a sheep.
Does anyone remember this quote from Hillary? Pokemon go to the polls.
Oh my god.
Pokemon go to the polls.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's how you knew she wasn't a real person at that point.
That thing you said about how there was a joke about her being like some reptilian overlord, I'm not convinced that's a joke, because she's definitely closer to a lizard or some kind of fish person than an actual human.
But gladly, we should probably never see her again, because from what I heard, or from what I read somewhere, she wants to retire from public life. And I'm glad she's doing that, because I never want to hear that fucking shrill voice bitch ever again.
What does it matter? God, Bill Clinton's gonna finally crumble to dust and fall away on the breeze, and she's gonna crawl into a crack in the earth somewhere.
You ready to move on?
Yeah.
Alright, so all in all, Donald Trump, you're full of shit. Even if illegals could vote, they wouldn't fucking affect the popular vote and
not that
such a marginal extent.
It would affect it, but not to the extent you're claiming.
Not to the extent you're claiming. It wouldn't be in the millions. You still fucking won, because as much as I'm not as the biggest fan of the Electoral College, you played the Electoral College better, so you fucking won. Who cares?
Yeah, and he also played his other demographics, well enough. You won the election because you ran a better campaign. That's it. Don't hammer that down more. Just go with it. Be president.
Let's move on to Trump's next.
Donald Trump part 3/4. I can't even tell these stories apart.
Let's move on to the next complicated Trump bullshit.
By the way, for the link on this one, you copied the same link twice from the last one.
Motherfuck. I'll just pull up it. Basically, we could just basically talk about it.
This is a good podcast.
This is a very good podcast. I'm assuming you heard about it wasn't just the EPA that a gag order was placed on. He actually placed there's actually an executive order to gag several federal administrations. But I think the main one that people are focused on is the EPA. For
our listeners, can you explain what that actually means?
The gag order?
Yeah.
Basically, people within the EPA are just not allowed to. They're just not allowed to share their findings. They're not allowed to share information with the outside public. They can't. There's no external sources are able to be reviewed by the public, or no internal sources. I mean.
All right.
So that's what the gag order entails. So like what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Do you want to go first, Rage, or do you want me to go?
You go first. I just can't even process what's happening right now.
All right. Now, I'm not an opponent of gag orders because there's some institutions we have here, like federal institutions, where I don't think information should be, completely just out in the open for everything. However, I believe the EPA is.
I believe the EPA is one of the more harmless.
It's really the most harmless because, I mean, anything that the EPA finds out it doesn't.
I mean, I think let's just be totally honest. This has everything to do with the fact that they're not necessarily subscribing to the idea that like our actions have an effect on the climate itself.
I mean, and it's another thing. Whereas I mentioned before the podcast,
and because of that, like a bunch of scientists are going rogue on the internet, and just like repeatedly showing people the effects of global warming.
I mean, a lot of people know about global warming has become a huge thing.
You'd be surprised how many people don't subscribe to it.
No, I'm not talking about don't subscribe to it.
Oh, okay.
But everyone at this point knows what global warming,
they just know about the general concept. Okay.
Yeah. Whether you believe in global warming or don't believe in global warming, that's your prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of proof out there that global warming does exist. There's a lot of proof, or not proof, but more kind of like people
just like inferences
that infer things that it doesn't exist. And then there's people in the middle who say, yes, it exists, but we don't have as much of an impact as people say. And those are basically the three schools of thought. And people who are on the it doesn't exist are usually, and I'll be honest with this, and I don't want to offend anyone that's religious, it's more people who have strong religious ties or have...
I don't think it has much to do with that. I think it has more to do with the fact that because like left-leaning people are incredibly adamant about like saving the environment, they tend to... There's like this, for some reason, there's this general rule of like either side where like if one side is for it, then you automatically should be against it because they're for it.
Contrarian.
Excuse me?
The
contrarian?
Contrarian
Okay,
belief,
that's the word I've been looking for. Thank you. So I think it has more to do with that because I know a ton of religious people who believe that global warming, like we're having an effect on our own environment.
Yes, but I mean, I remember back when I was at my other college, there was this creationist club, and I asked some members of that about it, and they used their creationist beliefs and firmly said global warming doesn't exist. And that's kind of more what I meant. I didn't mean generally.
Like generally? Okay.
I meant more like those small sects like creationists and the others that have their own view, like they believe that. The people in the middle are the people that most interest me with this, is that people who, and that's probably where a majority of the population aligns, is somewhere in the middle, kind of leaning more towards the global warming does exist. And
but they're not like super adamant about it.
But they're not super adamant about it. A great example, or a great argument I hear against it is, yes, global warming exists, but we're not the biggest culprits of it anymore. If you think about it, and the argument that people always tell me when I hear that, think about China. Mm-hmm. Think about Russia. Mm-hmm. Think about these large countries.
Are you talking about like the United States is not the biggest issue, or just the biggest culprit of the humanity itself? The world is responsible for global warming, and whenever I hear people say, we need to go green, we need to do this, and this to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce our effect on global warming. But the problem with that argument is that, basically the argument is basically stating that global warming is cyclical to a certain extent, which is true.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we've been through these cycles before. Like it's not like we spent like the entire course of humanity in just one cycle. We've been through multiple already. Mm-hmm. And but the thing is, if we're breaking records, like temperature records repeatedly outside of a certain cycle, that to me that's a cause of concern.
It is a cause for concern. And here's my thing about global warming as a whole, is that whenever people talk to me about global warming, they try to convince me that global warming is, the biggest deal in the world and that we need to do something about it. Mm. And I'm not debating that global warming exists or not.
All right.
I'm debating...
You're just debating the order of you're just debating the order of importance it has in our general affairs.
Yeah, kind of to link an example to it. Say that there was a building on fire.
All right.
You see that there's a building on fire.
Mm-hmm.
A guy comes up to you and says, "Hey dude, that building's on fire. That building's on fire." Okay, what do we do? That's kind of how I feel about the global warming argument, is that people spend so much time trying to convince me that global warming exists and it's a problem. And I've understood that because people have just hammered it on so much to me. But my issue with global warming is, okay, global warming exists. Do you have any good ideas of how to deal with it? Do you have any good policies we could enact that would work within what we have going on? Wouldn't kill our budget, wouldn't affect our society as much as, something that could work, that we could implement to help global warming. No one has ever given me a good concrete policy on how we could work towards.
But it's not necessarily. But I don't think we need concrete policy. I think it's just a general idea that we should potentially pursue. Not necessarily just quit cold turkey, quit using cold turkey, and just immediately switch to alternative energy sources. But I think we should be more open to using alternative energy sources.
Oh, of course, and I would. And it's not a super conservative thing of me to say, but I would be okay with subsidizing alternative energy sources. I would be perfectly fine with that, with having government subsidized clean energy sources.
But the thing is, I know you're an exception to this rule because you just told me. But the thing is, when people try to suggest the use of alternative energy sources, a lot of conservatives just tend to be outright against it for whatever reason.
And this is kind of another thing that. And I don't know if we mentioned.
Keep in mind, I'm not trying to shit on conservatives. I'm just pointing out what I'm observing.
Oh, of course, and I remember we mentioned it. I mentioned it to you before the podcast, and if I repeated it on the podcast, I'm sorry. But young conservatives, our generation's conservatives,
okay, yeah,
and traditional conservatives who are now in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who grew up in the olden days when things were vastly different than they were now. There is a divide. There is a difference in policy and belief on many, many different issues. Global warming and how we should how we should handle global warming is different between what is one of those differences. I mean, young conservatives don't have an issue with, or at least from who I've talked to, what I've experienced, and what I personally believe, aren't as adamant on, we're going to use coal. We should use coal and gas because it's the most cost. That is an argument, but
I mean, it's an argument, but
most people are more accepting of using alternative energy sources.
But I think what these people don't tend to understand is that, do you remember? Didn't the space race take place in the 60s and 50s and 60s?
Yes.
Do you remember how we had the DARPA computer that took up an entire room? No one knew how to fucking use it. This is way before computers became economically viable. And this is where they also tend to be against this, because they're against the government adding an economic push behind the pursuit of alternative energy sources. But the thing is, if we didn't have that government push back in the 50s and 60s during the space race happening, computers would never be economically viable because one, remember, no one knew how to use them, and because we actually made that push, we started to innovate on computer usage.
Yeah,
that's when so because of that, that's how computers become economically viable. We probably wouldn't even be doing the podcast if that didn't happen.
No, and that's a really good point. But as it relates to people now with alternative energy sources, the opponents of it there are many different reasons why people are opponents of it, but it's not fair, and of course it's not fair to say any side in particular, liberals or conservatives, are all the same. That's not something that's really...
I mean, if that's something that I've accidentally implied...
No, but other people have implied that to me. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to make clear.
All right.
Is that there's a sect of the conservative population that do believe that, there's no way that we can not use coal and gas, and that it's the best thing, global warming, it is most economically beneficial to us to continue using those resources. And then there's the part of the conservative movement that is, yes, we should still use gas, coal, and natural gas, these things that we've been using for years. But we don't have a problem if we want to realistically work towards another alternative energy source.
Making these sources completely usable and economically viable.
Exactly. And I'm pretty sure on the liberal aspect, I'm not as experienced with the liberal demographics and the different sects of liberal thinkers.
We're not all drum circle hippies who want to eat just
and you're not
vegan diets.
And you're not all socialists.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a there's many different groups, and
like I would say I'm fairly socialist on like certain things, but I'm not a full blown socialist.
Exactly. But linking this back to the gag orders, I believe that the gag order for the EPA at least, because I don't know the gag order for like the other federal branches, but the gag order on the EPA, in my opinion, is incredibly fucking stupid. I think it's one of the more it's not going to affect my personal life on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. I just think it's kind of a thing that Trump did to appeal to, because remember, if Trump wants to get elected again in 4 years, he has to appeal to that older conservative base as well. And that older conservative base who still has, that belief of gas, global warming is not that much of an issue. We should continue using gas.
But the thing is, like, the reason why I'm pretty pissed off about it is because, like, I see a lot of his followers stating that, he's like the man of free speech, but placing a gag order on the EPA from people for like not allowing scientists to essentially release their findings to the general public. To me, that's the exact opposite of someone who's like a man of free speech. Like we talked about last week. This is the same guy who wanted to declare war on the media. This is the same guy who wanted to fucking expand libel laws just to sue people who mock him.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm at this point playing devil's advocate here because I will fully admit it's really stupid that a gag order had to be placed on the EPA of all people, of all organizations. But Trump had a reason for that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's a great reason. I'm not saying it's a reason I agree with. But he did it for a very clear reason. And that's the reason. I mean, I still think it's personally stupid.
But I thought Trump wasn't no politician. I thought he was a man for the people.
Trump is
what a fucking corporatist shill.
Donald Trump is a better politician than a lot of people give him credit for. And that's really funny to me, personally.
Alright, fuck this piece of shit.
But the next Trump story...
Yes,
oh god, I stayed quiet for that whole thing.
You did?
It's just because, if you don't mind me dwelling on it for another second, global warming is one of those issues that, God, no matter how passionate everyone else is about it, I just can't muster up the ability to give a shit about it. Does it exist? Does it happen? I guess. I think the thing is...
So you're saying you kind of have like a nihilistic approach to it in the sense that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, considering that. Are you trying to say that because like you're probably not going to be like alive for like when like the effects will probably like turn for the worst?
I don't know what it is. It's just that environmentalist issues have never really gotten anything out of me.
I mean, I can kind of understand where you're coming from.
I can understand where you're coming from. I just think it's important to care to a certain extent, considering that this is the planet that we live on.
I don't like littering or anything. I have like...
I fucking hate littering.
I have a certain baseline of... I care about like cleanliness aspects because I'm a fucking hypochondriac, but like people get so passionate about the global warming issue and calling each other retards over it day in, day out. I guess maybe I used to, but here's the thing. Backstory time. They really imbued me with this shit when I was in elementary school. Is that even a fucking word?
Yeah, imbued. Yeah.
Because what they would do when we were like first, second grade is that they would hand us these little pamphlets, Time magazine for kids.
Yep.
Happy
I remember those.
Happy Earth Day.
Every single fucking issue was about global warming. And I think even like by the time I was 9, I was like, I don't give a shit anymore.
You're just tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
I can just imagine a 9-year-old Rage going, I don't give a poop about environmentalism.
Oh god, I've been swearing since I was like 11. It's just like, I'm a conservative to some degree. I'm not gonna deny that climate change or global warming, whatever the fuck happens. I'm pretty sure it does happen to some capacity, but just on the ordered scale of things I give a fuck about, I just don't have global warming on there.
So it's fair, because it's kind of the same with me, is where out of the hierarchy of issues that are important to me in the political world, our economy, our society, there's so much.
Like you're saying, like if we want to learn how to take care of like the environment, so we gotta learn how to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah, I mean
We can knock off some economic and social issues off the chart first. Sure.
Yeah, because like if we were
down the scale,
if we were in an age of pure prosperity where our economy was booming, we had no social issue or no very prominent social issues going on, then I could say, yeah, let's focus on more scientific pursuits, focus on cleaning up our environment and stuff.
Yeah, but that makes sense because that's like the immediate thing that that's the immediate thing that contributes to our health and well-being.
Yeah, I mean, like, great example for people that argue for us as America, we're out of the space, like, we're not funding NASA. We're not doing what we did in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
I think we need to do that again, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. For the next 20, 30 years, we should focus on getting our company or our country economically stable, socially stable, and then once we're good there, then yes, let's get back into the space race. Let's get back into our scientific pursuits. Let's get back to cleaning up the earth and being environmental. But at the time being, I completely agree that it's probably not a good idea to focus a lot on that because it's just one of the lower priorities on at least my personal hierarchy of things we need to deal with first.
I would personally disagree with some of the things you said, but I personally think it's still important to like pursue things like another space race because like again how I stated before about the whole DARPA computer thing. I don't think it mainly boils down to the fact that I don't think the military should be like the only place that should be like the biggest push in terms of like newer technology and like economically viable accessories that we get. I think we should definitely push more towards I just believe the more push we have towards like certain technologies, the more like the better our lives will eventually improve.
I can agree with that. It's everything we work, our research and development works on shouldn't be just for primarily like military.
Because personally, I think we spend way too much fucking money on the military,
and that's an argument that will always divide people on should we cut funding to the military? Should we not? Should we practice isolationist policy? Should we not? But whether that's here nor there. The fact of the matter is, at this point, and I guess my final say on the Trump administration gagging the EPA is, it's dumb, it's stupid. I really don't care enough, though, because there are other elements of our modern society, and especially in the political realm, that are much more important to me than the EPA at this point.
Oh, shit, there was something I wanted to say about Trump in the last story that I thought was kind of an important point.
What
like,
was?
Do you ever hear how, like, have you ever heard someone say that, oh, like, Trump's like being effective because he's quote unquote trolling the media?
I have never heard that, but I believe someone would say that.
I have said before, I think he stirs the pot very frequently.
But the thing is, I don't really like the fact that he does that because you really shouldn't be trolling as like the commander in chief. You really shouldn't be trolling as like as basically the figurehead of like pretty much the global economy at that point.
Yeah,
like that's not something you should fuck around with. That would be like me claiming that something that's highly indicative of like gun control and gun safety is like if I just wave a fucking automatic shotgun in your fucking face.
Yeah,
So I really think that's a really stupid it's a stupid compliment to give Donald Trump because that's really something you really shouldn't fuck around with.
Well, and of course I don't speak for all of the Trump supporters because if I did, everyone would sound much more civil and wise, I guess, if that makes me sound like as pretentious as I can sound.
Oh, doesn't ever.
Oh, I know, trust me, I love sounding pretentious.
Do you think our comment section is just going to be like a fucking shit show of like people Do
you think we're even going to read the comment section?
I will.
I will to a certain extent.
I will read the comment section and pick out certain people just like, hey, Duck Lover 24, you suck!
Fuck you!
But I agree. Trump needs to learn a little bit more polite rhetoric if he's going to run the country. But
I don't think he just needs to learn more polite rhetoric. He just needs to learn a more degree of self-control.
Yeah, because
Ronald Reagan was a fucking asshole. Let's be honest. Like he told people that are like trying to if he saw someone who was like just like talking or something, he just flat out told him to shut up.
Well, and
Reagan was a fucking asshole, but people liked him for that.
I mean, Reagan was. I mean, if you think about it in many different ways, a lot of the presidents we've had, both Republican and Democrat, have been kind of assholes. I mean, I believe it was Lyndon B. Johnson. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself on next week's episode, but I believe it was Lyndon B. Johnson that when talking to his own staff, if they were having a meeting and he needed to take a shit, he would go to the bathroom and say, come on, guys, I'm not done with my point. Come on in. And make them, the people he was meeting with, talk to him in his bathroom while he was taking a shit.
Good thing we have fucking GoPros now. What if he just like, After he gets done making his point, he just fucking pans the camera right into the toilet bowl. Right before you.
Look how big my shit was.
Look at how big.
It's bigger than Bono.
Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
So yet another Trump story, and I kind of chose this one
From your neck of the woods, yeah.
I kind of chose this one because, like, I shouldn't say it hits a little close to home, but it does relate to home for me in this sense.
You are from Chicago, right?
So he basically, like, he threatens to send feds into Chicago if they don't fix their carnage, which is in quotes.
Okay.
But, like, the thing, and the reason why I find this kind of interesting is because, like, one, I don't think, because first of all, I think this is a very fucking stupid way to approach it. But on the other hand, if even Donald Trump is able to acknowledge that Chicago has a huge problem with its like crime rate, then maybe perhaps we probably should focus on like why Chicago has such a high crime rate, why why so many people are just being killed each year. But at the same time, like, I don't think the problem is just going to be sending in more feds. Like, a huge issue with Chicago is that there's a huge distrust between the community and the police force itself. So sending in more fucking cops isn't going to fix anything.
Well, it's the weird thing about this is that while I agree that it's not probably the best decision you could make, it's just like, let's throw more cops into Chicago. That'll help everything. But I do admit...
He's basically calling a duck at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, is that there's still a lot of people who believe, and I don't know how they believe this, because, I mean, I've gone to Chicago at least 2, 3, 4 times a year, every year for my life, because I live so close to it, for, usually a good period of time, like a weekend.
All right.
And so I know Chicago fairly well, not like someone who lives there, but I know it from what I've seen.
All right.
Dylan's dying to be a Chicago kid, in case you haven't noticed.
What do you mean?
God, you...
What do you mean?
Every damn day
Rach,
you're extolling the virtues of Chicago to me. Give it a rest, Michigan boy.
Hey, I'm a fan of the Cubs. What is wrong with that?
Mm.
Anyway.
I was going to talk shit about the Cubs, but go on.
God damn it. All right.
Please do, it's funny.
But anyway, I'm a Cubs and Bears fan. That's...
Right. I mean, we're both from Chicago. They're both from like Cubs and Sox. Cubs and Sox in Chicago. I don't give a fucking shit at this point.
I mean, point being, I like Chicago sports. Because I've lived so close, but anyway.
What were you going to say about Chicago?
Everything about Chicago, dude.
No, I don't, but
yes, you do.
I'll touch more on that in a minute. With Trump admitting, there is a problem in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I will admit, when I've been to Chicago, I've noticed some sketchy neighborhoods. I've noticed, I have seen things that have scared me in Chicago.
Talk about Chicago.
But I mean, I've talked to some people saying like, "Hey, is everything all right in this neighborhood? Are things all right around here? It's a little scary." And they say, "Nah, everything's fine. Everything's fine." And I've heard some people argue with me that, "Nah, Chicago's fine. We just have a few problems here and there. We're fine." But
it's only relegated to like a few neighborhoods because let's be honest, like, you ever been to Wrigleyville?
Oh yeah,
that place looks like shit, but it's still like that place looks like shit, but it's still like run fairly well.
Yeah, but there is a clear problem in Chicago with
Definitely.
crime. And the fact that I've had some people try to deny that it's a problem in Chicago when there's clear evidence, and it would be like someone saying, "Look, that house is on fire," and then someone come up to you saying, "No, it's not."
That's a second fire allegory of the night.
Well, I'm just using that idea to keep consistency, but I mean, like you said, calling a duck, I mean, there's crime in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Some people don't think there is.
I think a huge problem with it has to do with the fact that like a huge chunk of like Chicago public schools are being closed down because they're not like getting adequately funded.
Yeah.
So that's just adds like another like huge wave of like kids going out into the street like not getting properly educated, just like having having the streets as their like primary role model. So Chicago's like and plus like I think just like how they try to handle the access to guns like really doesn't work because. I'm pretty sure you knew about how Chicago tried to like outright like ban people from owning guns, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the reason why that didn't work is because there was really nothing stopping anyone from like going over to like say in some county in Indiana, for instance, buying a gun and bringing it right the fuck back.
Well, and also if you try to outlaw people from buying guns and owning guns in Chicago, you're still going to have illegal guns.
You're still going to have illegal guns because the thing is like the main reason why I tend to be right leaning in terms of gun ownership is because we're never going to get around the fact that America has a culture that surrounds guns.
And even if you ban the ability to buy guns legally, if someone wants a gun,
They're going to fucking find it.
You can get a gun.
You can get a gun. It's not hard.
I mean, I could get a gun if I wanted. And
just go to a fucking gun show, buy yourself a gun, and just walk home with it.
Dude, go on the streets of a big city and say, "Hey, you know where I can get a strap?" Oh yeah, sure.
Like it's not like buying a gun is not fucking hard.
No. Although, about the crime in Chicago, have I ever told you guys I've actually been mugged in Chicago?
No. You never told me this story.
All right.
Wait,
so,
you told Paige the story before?
I don't know if I have because I have two
that's
stories.
That's a pretty big story. You would think you would tell someone that you've been together for like 5 years.
Yeah, you think you'd fucking tell me that?
Because I have two stories about Chicago that kind of show the crime. One's more recent and was more of my fault. But
are you just about to tell me you fucking got mugged yesterday? Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Well, so I went to Chicago for a field trip when I was in like 8th grade.
You got mugged as a fucking 8th grader?
Let me finish.
Jesus Christ!
So this guy was trying to sell people newspapers. And it was clearly newspapers that he scratched the price off of in the corner. He was just trying to make a quick buck. He walked up to me as a kid and the person I was with, and we were all we were just about to leave. And I'm holding I'm trying to count my money and see how much I had left. And this guy, and thankfully, all I had was like.
I can already see where this is going.
Thankfully, all I had was like $5 left.
Okay.
And this guy grabs it out of my hand and
just books it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm an 8th grader. If you're a grown up in Chicago, you can take $5.
Were you like downtown when this happened?
No, we were by the museum.
By the museum.
In a place.
The Science and Industry Museum?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that happening.
And I mean, it's not the most exciting story.
I mean, like the area surrounding like Science and Industry isn't the worst, but
it's not the best.
I'm sorry, you got mugged as an 8th grader
for
$5. It doesn't have to be exciting.
There are a few shady areas by like the Science and Industry Museum.
Well, and then the other time when I had an issue with crime in Chicago was partially my fault because of a really bad decision I made.
I'm so surprised.
Well, I went to Comic-Con, this was like 2 years ago.
All right.
And I cosplayed. I cosplayed as Pimp Pool, where I wore
I have no idea who the fuck that is, but continue.
No, Pimp Pool was my version of Deadpool, where I wore a big red flamboyant pimp outfit and a Deadpool mask.
He was wearing his Hugh Hefner robe and the Deadpool mask.
Kind of. But, and because I was going as Pimp Pool, I had a prop katana and 2 prop airsoft guns that I had, in my holsters to, complete my thing.
I think I do remember this one.
So, we're walking back to the train station, and my cousin is getting hit on because, she's a relatively, an objectively attractive woman in Chicago. So, this one guy, this homeless guy, is bugging us. He's following us around. He's trying to hit on her, and he's not backing up. So in my infinite wisdom, I pull out my prop airsoft gun and start spinning it around my finger.
Oh my god!
And the guy instantly.
Okay, wait. What color was the airsoft gun?
It was black with the orange tip.
Okay, did it have the orange tip off?
No.
Okay, so it had the orange tip on.
But the guy immediately when he saw it, and you guys can't see it here in the room, but he instantly jumped back and was tugging at his belt like he was reaching for something, and I was like, "Oh, I'm dead. I am going to die." But then
it's not enough that you almost got mugged. The story also happens to mention that you almost got fucking shot.
But he didn't have anything, and he power walked away and was afraid.
How many homeless people are actually armed? I'm kind of curious about that.
What do you mean?
How many homeless people are armed?
I would imagine a good chunk of them probably, because if I was homeless in Chicago, especially, I would want a way to protect myself.
But do you think a lot of them would be able to particularly afford it? Because let's be honest, guns are pretty expensive.
They can be, but
I would imagine a lot of them carry a knife.
Yeah.
Those aren't easy to come across.
Yeah.
I shouldn't think those aren't hard to come across.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to pull out a gun. I was expecting him to pull out a knife. But point being, Chicago is not the most crime-free place in the world.
It definitely isn't.
And Trump just stating that, he was going to do something about it, even if it wasn't necessarily the solution that's needed, I do kind of give him a little bit of credit for acknowledging it at least.
Just for acknowledging it. In the same way, that's like saying, well, I kind of don't want to give him the credit of acknowledging it because that's like saying, well, fuck, I can't think of a good analogy right now.
Well, the example I gave earlier about the idiot saying, no, that house isn't on fire, when it clearly is on fire. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't give a guy credit for acknowledging that a house is on fire when it's clearly on fire, but when there are people that say it's not on fire, you have to acknowledge the guy that says it's on fire. Well, hey, at least you're not as dumb as this guy. At least you admit that this house is on frickin' fire. So, I mean, you shouldn't have to give him credit for stating the obvious, but there's people that argue that obvious statement. So
I feel bad because I couldn't think of a proper analogy for it.
that's the closest thing I could come up
Are
with.
you ready to move the
Trump!
on with this shit?
Trump!
Another goddamn Trump story. Like, I'm really getting sick of fucking Trump at this point.
Welcome
Like,
to
it's
Planet
sad.
Junction.
And the thing is, like, the sad thing is, we're nowhere near done talking about him.
Well, let's kind of, because we're already running into about an hour.
Let's just cover this last story because like the last two aren't really that important.
Let's cover this story, and then we
Or
can
this
touch on one these other stories we have on a different episode.
Okay,
if
because
they're
like,
still relevant.
the last two stories aren't really like of great importance. Like one of them was just like really funny, and the other one I was probably just gonna scrap anyway.
All right. So, what's our final bit of Trump?
So our
news?
final bit for this segment, Trump moves to build the wall, but on top of that, he's also I think he's also cutting the city refugee funding just to help fund the wall.
Okay.
I think this is the thing that I probably disagree with the most because one, I already disagree with the wall itself. I personally think it's a waste of money. I personally think it's just a waste of time. Like people are going to find a way around this fucking wall. There's no way you're going to have just like 1 million people a day just monitoring that wall 24/7. People have these things called shovels. People have these things called dynamite. There's these things called fucking ladders. Like people are going to get around this wall.
They're gonna stack on top of each other and jump over.
I mean, have you ever seen World War Z?
World War Z? Yes. Wait, no, I haven't. But I know what scene you're talking
That
about. Like,
scene!
the zombies are literally just. But the thing is, like, a reason why I'm probably against it because, like, once the wall is complete, there's going to be like no reinvestment into the economy from it.
Honestly, I can't argue that. I mean, the only thing I can see beneficiary coming from the wall.
I would see. I think it's beneficiary in the sense that it's temporarily going to employ a large amount of people.
Yeah.
But that's all it is, temporary.
Well, I mean, there will be permanent employment for some people who, like, they're going to beef up security, so you'll need to bring more people
But I don't
in.
think that's going to, like, benefit the country.
It's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's very minor.
I think it's incredibly minor. That's why I think it's kind of a waste of time to begin with.
And there's always been opponents of the wall. The wall has...
I would say it's easily one of the most controversial, like, plans of action in our generation.
Well, and it's kind of been... Even from when Trump first stated, because I remember very clearly the first time Trump stated his wall thing. I remember saying we're going to build a wall. And I remember all the memes and all the online hoopla about it, people making fun of Trump for it. But when he originally said all that, I assumed that it was just going to eventually lead up to, okay, I was just saying that to make my point. We need to work on immigration.
Now he wants to build the fucking thing.
Now, I can state that I'm going to cut this into two little sides for me. One, on the political aspect, he is adhering to a promise he made.
Yep.
And in terms of how he's going to do that, because the question's always been how is he going to fund it, aside from having Mexico pay for it.
I think he wants to. Mexico's not going to pay for it. He wants to have a 20% tariff on Mexican imports. So basically we're paying for it.
Yeah, but I'm hating that I'm going to have to say this, but
you have to give him credit because he's actually at least following through his promise.
He's fulfilling his promise, and he's working to, and he actually has policies in place to pay for it, whether they're good policies or not. He's doing something to pay for it.
But the reason why I don't want to give him credit because like that would be like me saying if I would have to give like a fucking terrorist credit because. Oh, he said he was gonna like slit this bitch's throat. Oh, he actually did it. Gotta give him credit.
No, and that's where the other end of my argument is that I've been an opponent of the wall. I've been an opponent of just the stupidity.
I'll at least say he's consistent, but that doesn't mean I won't. That doesn't mean I like what he's doing in the like slightest aspect.
I mean, Trump is gonna go down in history as being like Nixon or like Reagan, one of the most.
He's gonna resign.
I think that there is a great chance he's going to resign.
Because, like, he is so thin-skinned. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I do believe there's a great chance he's going to resign.
Should we start betting?
I'm not saying he's going to...
Oh, there already is.
I'm not saying he's going to resign, like, flat out, but I think he has a pretty high chance of, like, cracking under pressure.
Yeah, but like Reagan and like Nixon, because if you look back at media over the last 20 or 30 years, there is an infinite amount of musicians, television show creators, movie like directors and producers that have made, and artists most importantly, that have made fun of Reagan and Nixon. Trump is, I feel, in 20 years' time, going to be the most mocked, the most outrageous, the most.
He's definitely going to be dead in the next 20 years.
Oh, he's going to be dead in the next 20 years.
He's an old dude.
He's the oldest president we've had.
He's the oldest. Yeah, he's in his 70s. That's really old. Wait, how old was Bernie Sanders? Bernie was in his 70s as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So almost no matter what, a lot of the candidates we would have had on both sides, Democrat and Republican, would have been the oldest president we would have had.
I think I've made the joke on the podcast before saying that he's probably the most likely to die in office.
Yeah. Although he's,
because like when you're president, that shit takes a lot of years off your life.
I mean, dude,
like, have you looked at like pictures of Obama?
Obama aged 30 years,
aged like 20 to 30 years. That shit takes a toll on you.
Yeah, but digressing back to the Trump cutting.
Oh yeah, we only covered like one half of it because like the other half was the fact that he was like cutting off the city refugee funding.
That is, and again, I have two different halves of this where I don't agree with it. I don't agree that that is how you should get the funds for building this wall. I don't think, the wall should be a thing anyway. So like, as of what I would want would be to, not cut that funding. Mm-hmm. However, on the devil's advocate end, Trump, if we do have to build a wall, if we do have to do it, that is one of the more logical places to get your money from.
All right.
And
we're basically fucking up people's lives. We're basically fucking over people who were forced out of their country because we had to because of the after effects of like the Western society repeatedly doing proxy wars in the Middle East just to build some wall that's basically ineffectual.
I'm trying to logically explain the reasoning for what Trump's doing.
It's like it's like it's shit, but you're trying to figure out like why he's doing it.
Yeah, like I mean, I can understand why some people would like this and why some people would, how this makes sense in the grand scheme of the building a wall plan. However, in my completely in my personal views, it's stupid, it's dumb. I think the wall should not be a thing, but it is my duty as some pretentious political commentator on the internet to try to make sense of this.
But the thing is, I think a lot of people are for the curbing of the refugee funding, simply because, let's be honest, there's definitely been this false dichotomy of refugees who are as radical radicalized ISIS members and just people who just want to live a normal life. But the thing is, the reason, sure, I can definitely see where people are coming from, considering what's been going on in Europe, because migrant crises are definitely more of an issue there. But when we have ISIS attacks here, it's 90% of the time the people here who are radicalized are people who are already living in the United States,
and there are also people who are just generally not in the best state of mental.
It's definitely a mental health issue. So I just don't understand the logic when it comes to handling refugees when it comes to the United States, because all the stuff that's been going on over there has been going on in Europe, which kind of makes sense because the Middle East is definitely a lot closer to Europe.
Yeah. And again, trying to make sense of something that is just kind of hard to grasp. I mean, if I was Donald Trump and I had to commit to building a wall, where I would get, and I had to find a way to get money for the wall, I wouldn't take it from our road commissions. I wouldn't take it from.
Okay, but why can't we use the funding that we're going to use for the wall to focus on repairing the current infrastructure we have in the United States? Exactly. You know this idea is fucking stupid.
I know it is, and I'm not going to deny it's really fucking stupid.
I think we should wrap this up.
It's really fucking stupid. But you have to realize where I'm coming from with the
devil's advocate.
For Trump, it makes sense to cut it from a sanctuary, cut it from the refugee centers.
Well, if I want to get rid of the Jews in mass numbers, it makes sense for me to fucking gas them.
You're walking a fine line there, my friend.
All right,
I'm not comparing Trump to Hitler. I'm just saying.
I understand, and oh god, I hate myself. All right,
All right, should we wrap it up?
Yep, let's wrap it up. I'm here. I'm the dude here with
Your host, Matt.
We'll be right back. It's Rage.
after these messages.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is I, the Dude, here with my lovely co-host, Rage, and Matt, my other co-host, and we are here live at the Razzie Awards 2017.
I'm glad you didn't say my name, because I honestly didn't feel like saying it.
Oh, okay.
The Razzies haven't happened yet, you stupid bitch.
It was a gag, you whore. I'll edit that out, sorry.
Jeez.
I feel really bad. I feel really bad about calling you a whore.
Okay, so
No.
we're continuing from like what we were doing last week, because I think we ended off on covering the Razzies.
Yep, we ended last week on covering the Razzie Awards, and this is, of course, our second hour of Planet Junction, if that wasn't already evident.
This is the entertainment portion of the podcast.
This is a segment where we don't feel like clawing our fucking eyes out dealing with stupid bullshit.
Yeah, this is where...
Except when we do.
Except when we do.
do.
Well, there is some stupid bullshit. And there happens to be some stupid bullshit.
Let's not lie to ourselves. There's stupid bullshit everywhere. But we've got three important categories to talk about for the 37th Golden Raspberry Awards, in which celebrates everything horrible in cinema today.
God bless us. Every fucking one.
So, here we go. I guess start with the award for Worst Actress. And the nominees are Megan Fox for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Out of the Shadows as April O'Neil.
I actually saw this movie. This bitch was fucking bad.
You could have had a much better actress
This
for
bitch was
April.
fucking bad. Because the only reason I even had to see it because I had to take my nephew to see him because like my dad was busy that day.
I'm so sorry, Matt.
That movie, oh my god.
Not even Seamus could save that movie.
Chalonnet Woodry for the Divergent series as Beatrice Triss Pryor. I have no idea who that is.
I don't know who the fuck. I've never seen the Divergent series. I don't know who the fuck these people are. So.
Naomi Watts for Divergent series and Shut In. So
Naomi?
for Naomi.
Naomi.
Yeah. Okay.
Elegant.
Rebecca Turner for Hillary's America: The Secret History of the Democratic Party as.
Okay, have any of us actually heard of this fucking movie? Because I've never heard of this movie.
I only heard some.
In fact, I thought it was a I thought it was a documentary or something.
When I looked up more about it, I believe it's more of a mockumentary now.
Okay.
But I'm not actually sure. Again, I haven't actually seen the full movie myself. I've just seen a few little clips.
All right.
Is it like a limited release or what?
No, it was a theatrical release.
Yeah.
That's what was like the well. Considering that's on the Razzies, I think that's kind of indicative of what it is or how well it did. But okay.
Julie Roberts for Mother's Day as Miranda Collins. I have no idea.
But
all I know is who Julie Roberts is.
I've never heard of this movie.
And the final nominee for the Worst Actress Award is Tyler Perry for Boo! A Medea Halloween as Medea Simmons.
Holy shit, Medea has a last name?
Yes.
I thought she was just like this.
She has a first name too.
I just thought she had like this. She was just an entity.
Just Medea.
No, yeah. I mean, we all know her as Medea, but her real name is Mabel Simmons. So, but
I guess only super like adamant fans only know that because I never knew she had a first and last name either.
Trust me, I'm not an adamant fan by any stretch of the imagination.
Because that's why
Medea is but a form, a sound, an idea. Takes shape in the form of light. We know it only as Medea.
Anyway, who wins?
3, 2, 1.
Tyler Perry.
Megan Fox.
Perry.
Oh!
Tyler Perry. Just fuck him and anything that he does. Fuck Tyler Perry. If in the ever unlikelihood you're listening to this, fuck you, you blackface making motherfucker.
Tyler Perry just won the award, and Jesus was pleased.
I'm just dying to see a Tyler Perry Medea movie. I bet that shit's so bad it's good.
All right,
what's the next category?
The Worst Actor. And the nominees are...
Tyler Perry.
No.
I'm actually kind of half surprised he wasn't in both of those.
Anyway, worst... Because he does play men in his movies.
He plays Medea. It's because,
he played
the only character he really plays is Medea. He mainly writes the stories behind the movies themselves.
Yeah.
Especially, even before he was doing movies. Like, the Medea got popular because it was a series of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck.
But anyway... The nominees are Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, don't give a fuck. Ben Affleck, fuck that movie. Fuck Ben Affleck for playing this character. I don't give a shit. Ben Affleck wins the fucking award.
All right.
All right, well, let's just go through the other guys just in case. Gerald Butler for Gods of Egypt and London Has Fallen. Henry Cavill.
Henry Cafuck.
Henry Cavill for Batman vs. Superman as Superman / Clark Kent. Mm-hmm. So who's worse? Superman or Batman?
I'm gonna give it to Batman because Ben Affleck was just fucking cancer in that role.
All right.
Speaking of someone who actually didn't see this shit, I heard that Ben Affleck was actually okay as a Batman, and Henry Cavill...
The written Batman was okay. I just couldn't stand Ben Affleck's acting.
Village people, whatever the hell his name is, acts about like a piece of wood. So I don't know.
For who? For
Superman.
Oh, okay.
Like remember the grunge like voice that Christian Bale did when he played Batman? Like it was so much fucking.
I'm Batman.
Where's Superman?
It's like if you like saw his fucking face, it looks like he was like taking a shit behind his like you could like tell like how his eyes were like formed because like you could like see like the wrinkles on his face. It looked like he was taking a shit when he was trying to do that voice.
Now I know it's a stupid idea.
What?
But why can't we just have Ben Affleck play...
Affleck!
Ben Affleck! The fucking duck.
Yeah. Why can't we have Ben Affleck? Why can't we just have him play Bruce Wayne and then have Kevin Conroy dub over his voice?
Kind of like a Darth Vader thing.
Yeah.
Why can't we all just be Kevin Conroy? Speaking of... Sorry to take this off track a little bit. But
he was a decent Bruce Wayne. It's just that as Batman, I just couldn't fucking take him seriously. Because like how directionless the movie was. Like, remember that one scene where... Sorry, if you haven't seen this movie yet, fuck you. I'm kidding.
If you have seen this movie, fuck you.
You remember that one scene where he's, like, asleep, and the movie doesn't really, like, do a good job, like, Well, that's not a fair criticism. I'll take that back. And it, like, transitions into this, like, dream where, like, Batman has, like, Batman's, like, fucking shooting people.
Yeah.
And then Superman, like, flies in. It's just like, what the fuck happened? Like, why... It's just, like, the way he, like... looked like during that scene was just made him look so stupid. I couldn't stand Ben Affleck's acting. I'm not saying Ben Affleck is a bad actor. I just couldn't take him seriously as acting as Batman.
Yeah, I can understand that, and of course, and it's just a really weird thing, but
it's like Andrew Garfield and like Tobey Maguire. Like, why is Christian Bale such an amazing Bruce Wayne but a shitty Batman, and why is like Ben Affleck such a good Batman but a shitty Bruce Wayne?
You know, I'm really hoping that the new guy for Batman, or not Batman, the new guy for Spider-Man, when he gets his own movie, Spider-Man Homecoming.
I heard he was pretty good in
he was.
fucking Civil War.
But I'm really hoping that when he has a whole movie faced around him, he will be the perfect Peter Parker, Spider-Man combination.
Going back to how we were just talking about Kevin Conroy a minute ago, I just kind of realized 2016 was not a very good year for Batman.
It really wasn't. It's not like I'm sorry, but like DC movies just like haven't been good like at all. They really haven't.
Oh, the DC animated movies are supposed to be really good, but apparently
they're so good. They're so good.
But apparently the Killing Joke from last year wasn't very good because they really fucked up the adaptation part of it. Apparently,
well, because they tried
to give Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, more prominence in a way that kind of tied a huge fucking knot in the story.
So I'm not gonna feel bad about. I'm gonna say spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna say spoiler alert here for anyone who hasn't seen or doesn't know the story of The Killing Joke.
Ooh.
Or the movie, but I'm going to mention it in the movie because this is what they did that fucked up the movie. Don't worry. Do you intend on seeing it?
Well, fuck it. I guess if it's a piece of shit, then I won't see it.
Here's the thing. So, in the original Killing Joke, it was supposed to be focused more on... It's supposed to be based on the Joker. Wasn't
it just like how the Joker handicapped Batgirl?
Yeah.
That's kind of...
Well, because we didn't want to be too mean to Batgirl, we have to give her a more prominent role in the movie. And do you know how we're going to do that? Instead of giving her an interesting character arc. No, let me say this.
I'm dying. Come on.
Do you know how we're going to make her have a bigger part in this movie? You know, are we going to give her a very unique arc or something to make us care about her? Or, oh, wait, maybe we'll give her like a special villain to fight or something, you know? No. What are we going to do? You want to say it, go ahead.
We're gonna have her fuck Batman.
Yep.
What?
We're gonna have her have sex.
So did Batman like fuck her so hard that her spine broke?
I wish! Well, so here's what they did.
All right, that was an obvious joke.
They had sex, and...
Okay, wait. There's more to it than that. They wanted to give her a more prominent role in the story, so there was an additional 30 minutes tacked on to the beginning of this movie that was basically just... Barbara,
doing your taxes
Batgirl.
And shit.
I wish.
Doing
again.
taxes with the Bat credit card. Do you remember that from the back?
I remember that.
The back credit card.
Yep.
But go on.
Gee, Matt, if you were any funnier, you'd be on that guy with the glasses. But they needed Barbara to have a more prominent role in this story. So, like, this first 30 minutes that they just taped to the first end of the Killing Joke, no part at all in the actual comic, I feel like it's needless to mention, is just her sexually pining after Bruce's batcock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much context is given to this. I think there's, like, this subplot where she's kind of displaying a little interest in some kind of petty villain that doesn't even show up later in this movie. It's a fucking mess.
And
so the entire was the entire point of it just to not to depict like Batgirl as like someone who just gets like the shit kicked out of her repeatedly to the point where she's
not just a damsel in distress, but
oh my god,
what the fuck? Like that's the entire point of the Joker's character. He's supposed to be like this gigantic piece of shit. This is the same fucking guy who beat Jason Todd to death with a fucking crowbar.
God damn. This made this a little bit worse though, because the way that she was kind of depicted as being so fucking clingy over Bruce kind of made her look like a weaker character.
Yeah. Let me explain this.
Like she's still alive. Jason Todd is fucking dead.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Kind of.
Depends on your kind of
Depends
movie.
on the movie.
Yeah, but anyway, let me explain this before I get cut off again. Is that with her and the entire thing in the movie is that, and this is what I got when I saw it, was that instead of just going straight up with the Joker kidnapping her, crippling her, and using that as a ploy to get at Batman.
All right.
Instead of doing that, just for like that being her part in the movie, I feel like they tried to make it tried to mitigate it a bit by saying, you know what, let's give her some good focus. Let's give her some good character development. Let's give her some happy moments before she ends up being inevitably crippled. However,
wait, so how does she end up being crippled in the end?
Same way in the Joker.
So what the fuck was
her.
the point?
Well, and that leads to this, is that after she and Batman banged, did the bat sex,
were they hanging upside down in the dark?
First off, it's
get out the bat condoms.
First off, it's also one of the most awkward sex scenes I think I've ever seen in animation. And boy, have I seen. I did
hear like someone say like yes, the sex scene in that anime, like in that thing, was like not good at all.
No, it's.
Wait, so you've actually heard about this before?
No, I heard about it. I never saw it.
Anyway, back to my original point. There's like a whole 10 minutes of the movie where Batman is just driving the Batmobile. And she's obsessively calling him.
Batman's just like, fuck bitches, get money!
No, the thing I just imagine is that fuck, what's her name again? Like
Barbara Gordon?
Yeah.
I just imagine her like sitting at home on a computer and then like Batman is just driving and you just hear like the Adam West Batman theme playing in like the car radio. He just has like one hand on the steering wheel. He's like, hello? Oh, what is it, Barbara? I just want to talk. He just hangs up and it just like cranks up the Adam West music even more.
Bro,
that is almost what happened.
That's pretty much exactly what fucking
Are you serious? I just made that up.
Well, not with the Adam West theme, but it's basically kind of the... Alright.
I don't know why, but the Adam West Batman theme makes me laugh so hard.
I'm sorry. He really wanted to talk about this, but I'm taking everything away from him again. What happened is that she's like in the middle of giving him this hysterical fucking call about like, it doesn't mean anything. I don't even care. It was just sex. And then Batman's just like, bye. And he hangs up! Fuck bitches, get money. I'm Bruce Wayne.
Okay, well, here's the thing, and I can finally say this. I'm going to say shut up if you try to
we need
again.
to like get off this fucking
Wow.
subject.
Yeah, because... Yeah, but with this movie... The one funny thing is that Batman, through the 10 minutes leading up to the sex, is saying, you're young, you're too young, you're not emotionally ready for this, this is not something that you should do, blah, blah,
Wasn't
blah.
Wasn't young enough for that dick, though.
Well, no, but then that's the funny thing, because after they banged, and he's driving in the Batmobile.
I'm sorry, but that is some Onision level shit.
No, just trust me. And then while he's driving and she calls him, she's like, hey, talk to me. It didn't matter. We just had sex. And like she's trying to like justify it, and he's like in his mind, and you can kind of see it in the screen. It's like, I told her she wasn't ready for that. I told her she wasn't ready.
You were going to say she wasn't ready for the back
Yeah, I was.
She wasn't ready for my bat ball.
But here's the thing. Why was so much time focused on Barbara banging Batman instead of the actual frickin' Joker?
If I may. The complaint that I think was coming out in recent years against the Killing Joke, as Alan Moore originally wrote it back in the 80s, was that Barbara's entire role in the story was basically just as a prop to get the action going against the Joker.
So?
Well, there was complaint about just using the character of Barbara Gordon as a prop, especially to the degree where she was permanently crippled for the rest of her life.
Cough, Jason Todd, cough, Jason Todd, cough.
But Matt, Jason had a dick.
Okay.
That's the difference.
The Y chromosome of death. So they decided that they have to do something that will get Barbara Gordon more involved in the story so that her crippling will, I guess, mean something. Why they...
It always meant something.
Well, means something more to the viewer. Why they chose the riding on the bad dick angle, I don't know. Maybe because when the Joker shoots her in the womb, it's symbolic of something. That's even stupider, though. So, I don't know. They really just didn't stretch themselves enough with the story.
And, alright, so... to finish off the worst actor, since that's what we were getting to, but
Hey, remember that?
long story short,
Fuck Ben Affleck, long story short.
yeah, long story short for the Killing Joke, Batcock. Robert De Niro for Dirty Grandpa as
Still haven't seen that movie.
as the Dirty Grandpa, and Ben Stiller for Zoolander 2 as the returning Zoolander. 3, 2, 1, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Ben.
Stiller. Although he's pretty bad too.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think's worse, Ben Stiller or Adam Sandler?
Who made Jack and Jill?
That's philosophical
So I
right
have to
there.
give it to Adam Sandler.
That's philosophical right there. I'd probably say Adam Sandler, but that really makes you think. Now, before we get to the worst picture, the Razzies also do something called worst screen combo, which is usually worded officially in the best and most accurate terms possible. So, for the worst screen combo, which is awarded to the worst combination of elements or people in movies, we have Ben Affleck and his BFF, baddest foe forever, Henry Cavill in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Wait, who's Henry Cavill?
Superman. Yeah. Any two Egyptian gods or mortals in Gods of Egypt. Johnny Depp in his vomitlessly vibrant costume in Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Oh.
The entire cast of once respected actors in Collateral Beauty. Tyler Perry and that same old worn-out wig in Boo! A Medea Halloween. And Ben Stiller and his BFF, barely funny friend, Owen Wilson in Zoolander 2. I have to give it to Tyler Perry.
I gotta give it to Tyler Perry.
I'm gonna give it to everyone in Collateral Damage.
I never saw Collateral.
Beauty.
Or, wait.
Collateral Beauty.
Collateral Damage is a more accurate name, am I right?
Anyway,
Because it's just another one of those instances where Will Smith is once again getting his hook out fishing for the Oscar.
Wait, Collateral Beauty has Will Smith in it?
Yes.
who's in
He
Collateral?
is the most prominent character
Wait,
in
what?
Collateral Beauty.
Hold on.
What?
Will Smith, Edward Norton, Keira Knightley. What the hell? This is pretty star-studded. How did this thing
Hold
suck?
on, let me open the news. I don't know what the fuck this movie's about.
Very bad writing.
Oh, it's that movie where he's like some super genius and he's like,
A man who copes with his daughter's death by writing letters to time?
Time, death, and love.
Wait, he writes a letter to time.
He writes letters to the... Okay, this shit. Everybody sit down, grab yourselves a beer, because I'm about to
That sounds
go
like really-
explaining on some
that
shit
sounds like-
again.
Look, I've seen. The thing is, like, writing letters to like time and I've seen like rappers do that kind of shit and actually like do it good.
Oh my god, if this was a movie about Will Smith coping with the death of his daughter by pursuing a rap career, that'd be
That would have been it.
so
I would have watched it.
dope.
That would have been really interesting.
Now this is a story all about how
my
I
life got
died.
flipped, turned upside down.
And I'd like to take a moment.
Unfortunately. The actual premise is a lot more manipulative. I read about this in reviews. So Will Smith
I'd
was
like to take a
basically
trip around the
played
funeral
this...
home.
God damn it. He played this big ad executive that was doing a very good job in his company until his 6-year-old daughter passed away from a cancer. From a cancer.
A cancer, okay.
Just one.
From a cancer.
Not the cancer, a cancer.
And he basically goes completely catatonic, understandable. Basically comes into the office and does nothing, stares out the window, and his colleagues are like...
Smith just staring like out the window. Just
the slow reprise. This is the story all
Continue.
about how. And the thing is, the company is on the verge of a big buyout by another business that could either save everyone's jobs or fucking ruin them. Since Will Smith is still technically the one in charge, the only thing standing in their way is whether or not he's going to put his name on the dotted line. And his co-workers, some of his subordinates, are so fucking frustrated with him that they're like, okay, we either have to make him look like he's crazy so he'll quit, or at least convince him that he needs to take some time off so that we can get this merger through. Or whatever the fuck it is.
isn't he basically taking time off by sitting in the office and doing nothing?
Well, here's the thing. In the process of Will Smith's grieving over the death of his daughter, he's been writing letters to the concepts of love, death, and time. Ooh. So his co-workers are thinking, how can we get people to think that this motherfucker's crazy? Well, let's hire some actors to play love, death, and time.
What?
Let's hire some actors who will pretend that no one else can see them but Will Smith, and either we'll help him through the coping process, or everyone will think he's fucking nuts, and he'll get fired, and our asses will be saved.
I think every smart person. Okay, if I saw something that was clearly hallucinating, if I saw something that I could see and touch that nobody else would see. You know what the first thing I would do? I would take his ass and throw him at someone else to see if he fucking reacts.
Oh my god, that was something I heard in a review.
I'll beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
It might have been Double Toasted. I don't remember. Someone did a
Probably
review
was.
for this movie and said over a scene where one of the guys is like, ask her, she can't see me. One of these actors was like, he should just pull out a gun and say all right, if no one else can see you.
I mean, okay, I understand the dumb premise more now.
And the thing was that these co-workers who were trying to make Will Smith look insane were still being portrayed as admirable characters. Good people. Very good people. Let's just
look,
make
the thing
our
is,
boss
I
look-
don't think it's weird for someone to write letters to I don't know, just abstract concepts to cope with someone's death, because I've definitely heard of some weird ways to cope with death. I fucking hate country music, but I heard this one country song that I hate to say this, but it kind of made me laugh. It talked about this guy who lost his son in Iraq. I was very sorry to hear that. But the way he described coping with his death was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Basically, he coped with his death by not only driving in his son's truck, but actually doing fucking donuts in the dirt with it, just doing some crazy stunts in that car with
I drank his last case.
You know what song I'm talking about, right?
What?
Do you know what song I'm talking about?
No.
I just thought I felt bad for laughing at it, but I thought that was one of the most hilarious ways I've heard for someone to cope with someone's death.
I mean, it's about...
he even says in the songs, well, everyone's got their ways of coping. I've got mine. But I just thought it was kind of out of left field. It's just the way he was describing. He was talking about ripping, tearing up roads in that truck. I'm okay, you're tired.
Now, I do believe the better way to cope with someone's death would have been for Will Smith to go and do his rap career thing. I mean...
I think we have actually hit some Oscar gold.
No, I mean, just think about it. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a moment, just hang in there, Beth. I'm going to tell you all about my daughter's death. All right, so...
I don't know. I just feel like the premise that this...
Okay.
The premise that this guy's just writing letters to concepts just sounds very Hallmarky.
I mean, I understand it. If this was a Hallmark movie, I'd buy it. I would totally buy it, but I still have to give it to Tyler Perry because that wig, that damn wig.
I think he's ever washed that thing.
I don't think he ever has. But anyway, we're neither here nor there. We're getting down to the big award.
Chilling off, relaxing, all cool. Just a man and my CEO outside the school. When I swear to God live, wasn't acting so good. Started making cancer in my neighborhood. Okay, I'm done.
I insist you continue.
I just know that throughout this entire
It got one little life in it, man. I got scared. I can't.
I mean, from here on out, I know throughout the rest of this cast, or the rest of this episode, we're going to be talking about something. And then at the very end, Matt or Rage or I, one of us, is just going to break out and go like, and now we're finishing up the rap and just finish it up.
All right.
I can't think that fast.
Okay, let's move on.
Anyway, so for Worst Picture, final award, Independence Day Resurgence, Zoolander 2, Killer is America, Gods of Egypt, Dirty Grandpa, and Batman v Superman.
I have a feeling you intentionally chose Batman vs Superman last because we're all gonna agree that's the worst fucking movie on this list.
I mean,
or at least I think so.
I mean, the fact that Batman v Superman, I mean, it's been nominated for so many awards.
Look at how many categories this movie's been in.
It has been nominated in 8 of the categories, along with Zoolander 2.
Okay.
The only reason why I'm even hesitant about Batman v Superman for Worst Picture is, as bad as it was, I did have fun at parts throughout it. I can say that's more I can say for Batman v Superman than I could say about.
Wait, are you saying like, okay, I thought you were gonna say like you had like fun watching the movie because it was bad or something.
Well, no. Like, I mean, no matter how bad the movie was, there were points in the movie when I was having fun because of, the action, the dumb action.
Okay.
That's more enjoyment I got out of that than
It's just that the only reason I can choose Batman v Superman is it's the only movie on this list I've seen.
I mean, Zoolander 2 and Independence Day Resurgence were both really bad movies as well.
I'm pretty sure if I saw Zoolander 2, I'd give that movie the honor.
So, but I do think it is still fair. 3, 2, 1. Batman v
Suicide
Superman.
Squad, even though it wasn't nominated.
Man, you're really
Still
bitter.
my answer.
You're real bitter about that, aren't you?
Like, have you actually okay, I think probably the one movie I've seen that actually like won a Razzie for like a Worst Picture. It was Catwoman.
You what?
Holy shit, that movie was like.
Oh,
that movie was beyond.
You actually went out and fucking saw that?
No, I didn't see it in theaters. Fuck that.
If
I would have saw it in theaters, I would have fucking killed myself.
Didn't Daredevil win a Razzie?
Did it?
It might have, because if it, I wouldn't have
I
been.
do remember Daredevil not being received very well.
No, but again, just like Batman v Superman, Daredevil was a bad movie, but the acting but there was a part of it which was, in this case, the actors for Bullseye and Kingpin that were just so delightfully evil that no matter how bad the movie was, their acting performances just made the movie tolerable. Just them. But just like in Batman v Superman, some of the dumb moments in the action and just the scope of it still made me have fun at times, but still a very bad movie.
Like, if you ever want to see like a hilariously bad movie, watch Catwoman.
Catwoman is.
Have you seen Catwoman?
The one with Halle Berry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
God.
Like, I couldn't like. It's like there's no way this movie could be that bad. And I was just watching it like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, especially that basketball scene.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dude, don't even get me started with the villain's plan. We're gonna make superheroes out of like fucking women's cream. And we gotta stop the shipment of the women's cream.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that?
No, you have to watch the movie for yourself.
Yeah, you gotta. We're not gonna. Let's not talk about it anymore.
Alright.
Let's let her watch it, and then we'll get Rachel's reaction on it in like one of the
Okay,
next few
well, one
weeks.
of you fuckers has to rent it for me.
Yeah, find it on the internet.
Dude, go on the internet. We don't rent movies anymore.
Yeah, who rents movies? You nerd. Anyway.
I
I go
was
to movie
considering
theaters to see movies, and when they're out on DVD, I watch that shit online.
Let me see if I can find a torrent. I was gonna make you guys fucking. I'm not actually gonna torrent this shit.
Alright, so now that we're done with that, I think we can just move on to like our actual first story.
I was gonna say make one of you guys rent it for me as punishment for having me see this shit.
No. I mean, you're gonna.
Nice. Has Halle Berry ever been in a good movie, or is that a myth?
Halle Berry's been pretty good. Halle Berry's been a good.
She was in she was all right in the James Bond movie she was in. Die Another Day.
For some reason, all I could remember that Halle Berry was ever in right now was Catwoman and the Flintstones movie.
Well, she's WWE superstar Kane's favorite actress.
That's a really weird fact.
No, it's really funny because they were doing a vignette one time where she was starring in like a WWE production movie, and she's sitting there and she gets called by this big demonic guy wearing a mask, Kane, and he's like, Hallie, I've got one thing to say to you. Why haven't you returned my calls? I mean, I even sent you that and it's like,
Okay.
wait, you're the one that sent me that burnt up painting or whatever. It's like, yeah, you didn't like it?
I thought you were being serious.
I am. I'll show you it after the.
No, I mean, like, the guy. What is that guy?
Glenn Jacobs.
I thought you meant like Glenn Jacobs. Sorry,
Well,
Glenn Jacobs.
Speaking of politics, Glenn Jacobs is actually running for representative of, I think it's West Virginia where he lives in 2018.
Would vote for him.
I'd vote for him. He's pretty nice. But anyway.
He's got a good grasp of economics, so I've been told.
Yeah. Well, he's an economic teacher. But anyway, more on that on maybe a future thing. Let's get to some of these stories that we have after the Golden Razzies.
All right, so like our first official story is that like it's basically there was someone at a TEDx,
mm-hmm.
and her name is Ashley Judd. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Basically, well, this really isn't anything new, but I think it's like something that we should potentially like talk about on the podcast regardless. Basically, she made a TEDx stating that like the video game industry needs to stop profiteering off of misogyny in video games. Like, she made the claim that video games are profiting off of like women like being treated as like objects to be enacted violence upon, like just things of that nature. Like,
Hey,
like,
guys.
what?
I'm sorry, I'll let you finish first.
Well, I was gonna let you go first because like I was just gonna basically say it's bullshit, and we're probably just gonna like, roll off with tangents in that regard.
Okay. Hey guys, what was one of the most popular video games that came out last year?
Overwatch.
Oh, well, yeah, that Overwatch. Who's the mascot for that game?
Tracer.
A lesbian.
Who is?
A lesbian. And British.
And a woman.
And a woman.
Who else is in that game?
You have a lot of strong female characters like Zarya.
Lots of fucking girls.
The thing is, like, I remember like Anita Sarkeesian tried to bitch about Overwatch, stating that, oh, well, Overwatch really is still part of the problem because a lot of the women are still like super hot and sexy and whatnot.
Okay, I'm gonna argue that for the fact that let's look at the characters that you have in Overwatch.
I would make that argument for probably like 4 or 5 if 5 pushing it.
Well, let's look at the characters from Overwatch for that argument. Genji, Cyber Robot Ninja, so, whatever. McCree,
just an American cowboy. Basically.
Well, but honestly, he's kind of sexualized a little bit. Like, not like in the revealing or any aspect of that.
Dylan,
but
that's just a you problem.
No, let me explain. McCree is, has a low voice, talks in, that Western tone, that,
So you're saying he's purely charismatic for the sake?
Yeah, he's very charismatic, and it fits in with his character. But you're not going to have me saying that, oh, McCree's just there as a, fantasy fuel for all the girls out there that want a hot cowboy, and Dylan.
Cowboy.
But anyway, Farah, not sexualized at all.
Farah's not sexualized at all. Like,
No.
I don't think I've seen like. I've barely seen like any, and it's not like I go out of my way to look at this shit. I don't think I've
There's no
seen like
shame.
any like Rule 34s of Farah. Like nowhere to.
I mean, it exists.
It exists, but like nowhere near to the extent of like other characters though.
No. And I mean, in game, she wears a big suit of flight armor. Yeah. So debunked there. Debunked there. Farah's not sexualized.
She's one of the most prominent badasses.
Yeah. Reaper, Hispanic hero.
I don't think people know Reaper's Hispanic until you look at his bio.
His bio,
Well,
or
I shouldn't say.
or his skins, because he has the skin of him without all of his Reaper stuff, and then he also has
the origin skin. I want to say look dig deeper, but I don't think anyone looking at Reaper for his plans would know he's Hispanic.
Gotcha, but still shows a little bit of diversity. Soldier 76.
Soldier 76 is not but he's not a painful character to be around, but he's not he's nowhere near as charismatic as McCree is.
No, I mean he's just kind of a normal dude, really. I mean, not normal in the sense of he's not a super he's a super soldier.
He's no Lucio, he's no McCree. I would argue those rank among 2 of the most charismatic characters in the entire game.
Yeah. And then here's another female character, Sombra. Mm-hmm. Sombra's not really sexual.
She's not really sexualized.
Got an ugly ass haircut.
And I mean, and she wears a full clothing. She's not there's no she's not really revealing.
Look at this bitch. There's no skin except her face.
Yeah, I mean, and she's Mexican. I mean, that's diversity. I mean, whatever. And then Tracer,
Who's the next character?
Tracer, who's probably the second most sexualized character in the game. One of the top 3, but even then, she's not really that sexualized.
I don't think she's like sexualized in this in the same manner,
No.
speaking.
I mean,
she just wears tight clothing that you'd want to be like comfortable in.
Well, and she's a former pilot.
Exactly.
So what? You want a pilot to wear loose clothing? That's not what they're supposed to do.
All right.
And then I'm just looking for other characters here that would could possibly be used. Oh yes, Bastion. Yeah, I'm gonna get female robot. I'm gonna argue that. No.
Bastion's a female robot? Or?
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Shocking
He's
twist in the
gender
next
like
episode.
Bastion's genderless, but I can't help but like calling him a he.
Yeah. Honestly, the only person I would say is a sexualized female in this game is Widowmaker.
I'll probably say Widowmaker, exactly.
That's the only one, and
That's
Like,
not
her name is
part-
Widowmaker, for fuck's sake.
yeah.
That's like the shtick that she kind of creates for
Exactly.
herself.
She's like Bayonetta with a sniper rifle.
Yeah. And honestly,
And blue.
if you're telling me that games are profiteering off of sexist or misogynistic portrayals of women, are you saying that in any video game I can't have a sexual woman character?
But the thing is, like, what are these games? Like, I hate when people like make this claim because, like, what are these games that like actively encourage or reward players for just like abusing women? Like, I have yet to play one.
No, I mean,
Like, I'm sure I could find like one extreme example of like some incredibly obscure game that a small group of people made just to be edgy, but I can't find one like really popular game and just like in the gaming in general that like supports this kind of thing. So I'm sorry, but she's just full of shit.
yeah, I mean, you have something to say?
Maybe that's still what like Judd thinks that Grand Theft Auto's all about.
You can kill dudes in Grand Theft Auto.
Oh my god,
Most of the people you kill in Grand Theft Auto.
Auto's just about fucking shit up.
No, but like speaking of, especially like I hate when people make the Grand Theft Auto argument because like it's no secret that you can hire a prostitute, kill her, and take your money back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but here's the thing. That has more to do with that has more to do with how the game is coded, more so than like them actually like intentionally having it so you can just run over prostitutes and get your money back. Like if you gave a hot dog vendor in GTA, let's say 4 or 5, money, and you killed him, guess what you can do? You can take the money back.
Yeah.
That's just how the game is coded.
Yeah, and plus, it's never, GTA games have never, ever, and I've played a lot of them, they've never encouraged you to kill the women. Like these, I mean, the only time it ever encourages you to kill a woman is if in a story mode there's a woman that's trying to kill you and you kill her. Okay, that's whatever. But there's never been a little pop-up in the game that says, hey, kill this woman prostitute that you just hired so you can get your money back. No, it never tells you that.
I would say like, but the thing is like, it would be much easier to make the argument for like the older Grand Theft Autos that it could be like, oh, it could potentially be encouraging a certain lifestyle. But like Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, if you like actually pay attention to the story, you actually see a lot of elements stating that it's probably best that you shouldn't adopt this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Especially Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah. And going back to the, since you said Overwatch was the one that said, other female characters, May, not sexualized.
Well, she's not sexualized, but the reason why like she has a huge fandom is because, let's be honest, she's thick in the lower half of her body.
Oh, but
She cute as fuck.
But with the new update,
I'm sorry, but May's got some booty.
but with the new update, it shows that she's actually pretty well proportioned. Like,
She's not overweight.
She's plus size.
yeah.
The fucks. No. Okay, like, have you guys like taken her new costume model and like turned her to the side and seen like the glitch where her ass looks like a shelf? They're actually going. Oh my god, I have to pull a picture of this up. I'm sorry.
All right.
Oh well. In the meantime, Diva, not super sexualized. I mean, she wears a bodysuit.
I have to understand the context behind her bodysuit.
Well, because she's it's the same thing with the flight gear.
Is that something that like people in the mechs have to wear?
Yeah, because because if you wear too loose of clothing, it might get stuck in when you're ejecting, or something might happen.
Okay,
I mean,
so that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, it's like why athletes wear tight clothing because it would interfere with whatever they're doing. And speaking of which, Zarya, who is
Like she's a bodybuilder.
she's a bodybuilder
Buff as fuck.
and buff. I mean, is that offensive for her to be buff? I mean, I don't know. And then you have Anna, who is old.
Ana is one of the least sexualized characters in the entire game.
Well, of course she is, because she's older.
And I might want to throw out there that she's she's a fan favorite.
Ana is my favorite character in the entire game.
Ana's the one I play, the support I play most.
She's my main by over 14 hours than the next character.
And, of course, but no, that's sexist apparently, because she's...
I found the image. Okay. There's a glitch in the New Year skin where her ass is kind of proportioned like a shelf. Blizzard actually said they have to release a new patch to fix this.
I think they actually did release the patch. Let me see.
That booty.
Jesus.
But
She's wearing one of those
I think that was just
bussies.
they kind of messed up the model in regards to her dress that she wanted to wear for Chinese New Year.
the only characters that in the game that are female that I can say have any bit of sexual, sexual appeal to them in a blatant way is Widowmaker. Mm-hmm. One of Mercy's skins.
Which one?
The witch.
One?
Yeah, but even then, it's only because it shows a little cleavage.
It's a Halloween costume.
Yeah,
Plus it's a Halloween costume.
And then Symmetra.
Symmetra to a certain extent, but she's not a sexualized character.
Well,
she's actually
and she also wears traditional Indian garb.
And plus, there's nothing in her character bios that even remotely suggests that she's even currently interested in pursuing a sexual relationship with anyone.
No, as a matter of fact, the only things that have been released for her story is her feeling remorse and regret for accidentally hurting a little kid. I mean, there's nothing in her story or in her, really, even in her design, there's nothing that's too explicitly bad about. So the only argument that one chick, what's her name, Ashley Judd, has for Overwatch is Widowmaker. And are you saying I can't have one?
Well, Ashley Judd wasn't making this argument about Overwatch. It was actually Anita Sarkeesian who was doing this.
All right, well...
the thing is, Anita Sarkeesian has repeatedly proven to be full of shit.
Yeah.
The reason we're bringing up Overwatch is because Ashley Judd is making it sound like all popular video games are profiting off the suffering of women. Which, if you look at Overwatch, was the most popular game last year, or at least up there, prominently featuring so many strong, powerful female characters. It's just such bullshit.
All right, well, let's take a step back and look at this then. What other games were popular last year?
I wasn't really paying attention.
All right, here.
Fallout 4 was popular last year.
Fallout 4. No.
Fucking garbage, by the way.
I know, but no things that I would consider, offensive to women or profiteering.
I would say there's things that are offensive to certain demographics, but that's only because the writing of the story itself was fucking shit. They didn't do anything to go out of their way to offend certain demographics.
Well, and other games that were popular last year, Rocket League. Oh yes, those female cars are really, really offending me. What else? Metal Gear Solid 5.
Metal Gear Solid 5 has kind of a bad reputation because there is one character who wears revealing clothing because she breathes out of her skin.
Yeah, and it's
it's a stupid character. I admit it's a stupid character choice, but
but she's
that's a small portion of people who work in the game industry who even remotely think down that line.
Well, and it's also not even, it affects the entire game. I mean, the game is heavily based on you as Solid Snake. Or not Solid Snake, whatever snake you technically
But the
are.
thing is, I wouldn't even say that's also a Western issue, considering that the developer who made it, Hideo Kojima, was Japanese.
Yeah.
Or is Japanese.
Speaking of Japanese games, I was also going to point out that Pokemon Sun and Moon came out last year. And I don't know if we're considering the Japan side of things, but that had quite a few female characters in it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly...
That kind of reminded me of that one year that Pokemon kind of got in trouble because they had a black character in black and white who looked like a stereotypical mammy from
Oh yeah.
I saw her. She didn't.
So
look
they had to
bad.
turn her apron backwards.
I thought the apron was
In all honesty, I did find that a little weird.
All right. Well, I guess my basic point for this story is that political correctness is. I mean. Is anything really politically correct anymore?
Because these people are never going to be satisfied.
I mean,
did I ever tell you what happened behind Zarya's general concept?
No, what?
People got really pissed off because Blizzard was never making any transgender characters. So Blizzard made an attempt to do it. So then when they actually did it, people bitched and moaned regardless. So Blizzard actually just removed the concept entirely. And guess what? They recycled it and used it for Zarya.
Is Arya in canon actually transgender?
No, she's a woman.
You just fucking ripped.
Yeah. And point being is that people complaining about, and yes, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, there was maybe examples of, profiteering of, women in video games. I mean, hell, we've come a long way from Custer's Revenge. But
Yes,
but come on, that's a porn game.
yeah, it's
Like you're buying a porn game for an entirely different reason than you're just playing a regular game. It's porn.
It's not even just.
Oh
porn, it's a
yeah,
bad
oh
porn game.
yeah,
Custer's Revenge was a
those
porn
pixels. Oh yeah, but
Hey, it's important that they tried.
yeah, but point being is that yes, well, there have been some examples of games in the past that might have had maybe some sexual exploitation of women or something like Onchambara Bikini Samurai Squad is a game that is well regarded for being just fucking bad.
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball.
Same thing. But if you're
I don't fucking play those games.
if you're complaining that in this day and age gamers are misogynistic, racist, offensive, or anything, yeah, there are some gamers that are. But then again, that's the human population. You can't really say that video game developers are making money off of sexualizing women or playing to misogynistic or homophobic or racist beliefs, because they don't. There's no proof anywhere that that's what video game developers do. So
there's also no proof that video games inspire that video game. There's a direct cause video games and sexism in men.
no,
There's no proof whatsoever.
no proof.
We've tried to study this multiple times, and it's come up blank every single fucking time.
Here, let me answer that question for you in the most honest way possible.
All right.
The almighty question for anyone out there that is asking this question: why are some men? Why do some people have misogynistic, racist, or homophobic beliefs? Why? Hint: not video games, not television.
Wouldn't that have more to do with their home life?
Exactly. The answer to that question is how you're raised.
Exactly.
It's not playing a video game or watching a movie or watching a television show or reading a book is not going to make you misogynistic, homophobic, or racist on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you're raised. It's the environment in which you grow up in.
That's an important point to make because she was also complaining about the lack of I just think the lack of proper conduct in regards to online gaming. But that's just home. That's just a home life seeping into the online world. You know how many times I've gotten the word nigger thrown at me while playing Call of Duty on PS3? I didn't give a fuck. It's not okay. You're right in that people shouldn't be doing that, but I'm not doing myself any favors by just continuously get upset about it.
You're really gonna try. It's not like you can really police a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds on the Xbox anyway.
It's a losing battle.
It's a losing battle. They've tried to do this so many times. It's just inevitable. I shouldn't say I'm sorry, but it's inevitable.
I mean, if Ashley Judd wants to do something about this, have her go to the home of every online gamer that offends people and have her, teach them to not do it. Have fun with that, because that's the only way that you'll ever do anything about it.
She does not want to change anything. She just wants to make it seem like she has a fucking point.
I know. That's why I said that.
All right, let's move on from this shit.
What was that noise?
That was a sound of agony.
That was a sound of
So this one I'm kind of excited to talk about.
Okay, yes.
It's not much, but I think it comes out on February 1st. I'm personally excited for this game. It's a retro inspired 3D platformer called Poi.
Poi. Okay.
And I wish we could play the trailer so we could just commentate on it, but the game is highly inspired by such the works like Super Mario Galaxy, Banjo-Tooie. Granted, the game could use some polishing, but it's been in early access for the last 2 years, and it's finally going to be released on February 1st. But I'm really excited for this to happen because mainly because games like Ukulele in this are coming, the retro, the platformer's coming back, and I really want that to come back because not one, it's a genre that I really enjoyed as a kid, and two, it's just more styles of games to play because let's be honest, apart from Overwatch and the companies that actually go out of their way to make their first-person shooters different, first-person shooters have gotten stale.
Oh, they've
gotten unbelievably stale.
I mean, in regards to platformers, I really have to thank a lot of games and remakes come out in the last few years that have just kind of reinvigorated the genre. I mean, Super Mario Maker did wonders for making people, who were big fans of the classic Super Mario, to come back and, make their own things, go through these new levels. When they released Donkey Kong Country Returns for the Wii, like 5 or 6 years ago, it was a great throwback to, Donkey Kong Country. And with the Super Mario Galaxy series coming out, what are other? Oh, and Shovel Knight, another fantastic platform.
I never played Shovel Knight. I really want to play it.
It's one of the best platforms I've played in the last 10 years.
But the thing is, I would say, a lot of things that are getting me back into old school games, a lot of fan creations.
Yeah.
I repeatedly talk about Sonic after the remember how much I talked about Sonic after the sequel when I talked to you.
Yep.
And how I said it's one of the best. It's one of the best 2D Sonic games I've ever played in my entire life.
Yes.
That game got me excited for Sonic Mania to come out because it got me interested in the 2D Sonic games again. Have you ever heard of a ROM hack called Super Mario 64 Star Road?
Yep.
Yeah, I actually played that. Well, I think I got up to 100 stars, and I think I stopped at that for some reason. I could have beaten it, but I don't know, for some reason I didn't. That got me back into 3D platforms, and now I'm excited for this again. I think I'm going to buy Yooka-Laylee. So which at the same, but the thing is it kind of makes me hate is because you remember how Nintendo was Nintendo was putting the ban hammer on certain fan creations.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid because you do realize if people are going to play fan-created games, they're going to develop interest in that certain genre, and guess what? They're going to fucking buy games. They're going to fucking buy games from you if you make those type of games again. Mm-hmm. Because fan creations are indicative of what people actually really want.
Fan creations are not substitutes for official releases, and that's one thing that Nintendo needs to learn because great example of a horrible thing. Do you all remember? Pokemon Black and Blue?
Pokemon Black and Blue? No.
Oh, boy.
All right, well...
what was that?
PETA got the rights from Nintendo to create their own version of... And it wasn't for...
Wait. Was this during that era of when PETA was just making a bunch of crazy propaganda bullshit?
Yes.
I'm sorry, aren't they still?
Because they made one about Cooking Mama too, and I remember that.
Well, Pokemon Black and Blue puts you in the shoes of Pokemon that are being tragically abused by their masters, and you basically play half an hour to 40 minutes of a Pokemon game with fighting back against your oppressive owners and blah blah blah.
I will say, admittedly, the concept of Pokemon being subject to abuse is an interesting concept. And
but
the Pokemon series should pursue that in the most family friendly way possible.
But not in a very
But I know PETA didn't do that. I know PETA did not do that.
I just want to point out that you showed me a little bit of that gameplay, and while the concept itself is inevitably super fucking stupid, the way the game is actually written and programmed is actually good and kind of funny, so it seems like they got some people to program this game that either actually liked Pokemon or ambivalent to it, and knew that they were working on a stupid concept.
Well, I mean, they still threw a lot of the script in there as being super shoehorned,
Oh yeah, but that was the required stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do find it funny that for every Pokemon in Pokemon Black and Blue that you play as, you have two attacks that do damage, one physical and one special. And then you have two stat of buff and debuff effects that are related to activism. Mm-hmm. So, example, if you're Pikachu and there's an attack you have that's give hug.
Oh my god.
Where your Pokemon runs up and just hugs whatever it's fighting, and it loses whatever. Or
That probably sounds like the seed that grew the inspiration for Undertale combat system.
You know, that's not a bad. Oh, I think did Undertale come out before or after that?
Before or
Undertale
after
what?
Black and Blue?
Yeah.
Oh, Black and Blue was quite a few years before.
Okay, but point being, they got Nintendo's approval to do that, and here's the thing: if they wouldn't have gotten Nintendo's approval to do it, and they just would have done it, and then Nintendo would have taken it down for being a fan creation or whatever. Would I ever play Black and Blue over Sun and Moon? Fuck no. No. I will always play an official Nintendo release of a game because there's a lot more money put into it. There's a lot more content put into it. I mean, you're very rarely going to make a fan game that will hold up content-wise to a full official release. Because fan games usually, are worked on by small teams and usually, have a certain amount of play value, but not nearly as much as you'll get from, like, an official release game that has a lot of money and time put into it by big teams.
I mean, I get your point, and I feel like it stands true, but I feel like Black and Blue...
It's a bad example, but
bad example.
I was just using it as, like, if they didn't get that, would I play a shitty game like Black and Blue over an official game?
Well, Black and Blue is still made, not as a fan game, it's kind of against Pokemon. Still, we can't think of any fan-made Pokemon games off the top of our head, but we would still definitely play official
There's
release over
Pokemon
them.
Uranium. I think that's the one that got like
Oh, yeah.
the ban hammered by Nintendo.
Yeah, and I hear it's good.
Pokemon Uranus.
Rage, you've done it again. Anyway, point being is that I can kind of understand fan games not being looked at well by Nintendo, but Nintendo, just calm the fuck down.
I don't understand their resentment against it because like it shows what they want, it shows what people are interested in, and you're not only like pissing off your fan base by like banning it outright, but you're also like ignoring what the people want themselves.
Oh, speaking of which, I did find an unofficial Smash clone that has you being able to play as most Nintendo characters, and you can play as like Geno from Super Mario.
Are you talking about like that like Flash?
Yeah, it's that dumb Flash one.
I used to play the shit out of that.
I can do Phoenix Wright versus Mario versus Goku versus fucking Qbert. It's a fantastic. But the thing is, would I play Smash 4 or Brawl or Melee over that game? Probably, because there's more put into it and more to do.
I mean, like I just play it just like fuck around.
Exactly.
Well, going back to the subject of Poi, which is where we started out here, it's supposed to be like this retro, late 90s, early 2000s kind of style of polygon 3D platforming. I'm going to give this game, based off these screenshots here, all the fucking credit in the world for being one of those retro-style games that actually fucking looks like what it's supposed to be emulating. How many of these, like...
Oh my god, don't even get me started with like these fucking like pretentious-ass pixel art games that pretend to be retro.
You have the floor.
Wait, what?
I insist you get started.
What?
Okay.
She insists you do that.
Okay. I still have no idea what she meant.
Go off on those fucking pixel art games. I hate that shit.
She insists that you
No,
yell.
that's really all I had to say about it. Like, I just really hate that it was regarded as retro when like these games just don't look retro in any shape or form.
Hey guys,
like, their polygon and pixel count is a lot higher. Like, I can't like you don't just just because you make it like out of pixels. I'm sorry, that doesn't make it retro.
Hey guys, Minecraft is retro.
Oh, fuck off.
Like,
I've had people tell me that, and it's
like all of these retro whatever.
What are you talking about? Minecraft's one of the most innovative games of all time. Like, it's anything but retro.
No, graphically, someone's told me.
Even
that's
then,
just
no, it's
ugly.
not.
I know it's not, but that's what people have told me.
And these like retro ass pixely games, they just got like people that are supposed to just look like fucking rectangles on legs, and it's like it's totally retro. And then you go look back at games that were like actually made when pixel in the 80s and 90s and whatever, and they actually. The thing about these retro games is that even when they were just using pixels and like however many colors, those were just limitations on the system, and they still tried to make them look as good as they could, not this stylistic kind of fucking suck.
Well,
like Shovel Knight, that's retro.
Shovel Knight is
retro.
Fantastically retro.
Owlboy, as good as it looks, and as good as it looks like it's fun to play, it's not retro.
I mean, honestly, I'll give Undertale credit.
Undertale's not supposed to be retro, but it still emulates that look better.
No,
I wouldn't say
it's not.
Undertale's retro.
It's not retro.
It's
It's not retro.
It's not retro, but you can see
But
that I would.
There's clear retro influence, but I wouldn't say it's retro.
I would more claim that Undertale I would rather call Undertale retro than some of these other games that people call retro and just
Undertale
have
captures
I can see
the
why.
retro look better than most of these faux retro games actually do, is what.
Like Fez, that's definitely not retro. Like,
No.
Fez is not retro.
Phil Fish, when's Fez 2 coming out?
Never,
Never.
because he got butthurt.
Oh god, anal cramp.
Oh, change one word from Fez to Rez, and Rez on the VR is amazing. I got to try it out the other day.
Resident Evil?
No. Rez.
Oh, never.
Nice segue.
Rez, the game.
I have no idea.
Although Resident Evil 7 is out, and
I heard it's actually really scary.
I have it. in my room. I just have not played it yet because I'm
You
waiting.
have to.
I'm waiting for the right moment of when I can play it alone, or without my roommate being there, so I don't have to
I'm allowed.
wake him the fuck up by being like he's trying to sleep. And he's like,
The thing is, I really want to play horror games, but I'm too much of a pussy.
Same. Just watch him do it.
oh geez, thanks for putting all the pressure on me, guys.
Don't fuck it up.
I mean,
But
I played.
anyway, like, I want developers to keep making more games like this. I want more things to enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like I'm so happy that these games are coming back.
Yeah, and maybe we can do more of a retrospective on him in the coming weeks, but we're actually already about another hour through, so do you guys want to have anything else you want to get to, or do you guys want to wrap it up here?
I think we can wrap it up here if you'd like.
All right. Any final words for the good of the order?
Neuter your pets. Eat your vegetables. I think I gave this exact fucking send out last time.
What?
Thanks to editing, we can edit this a little bit out if we need, but
I say we keep this in.
just the awkward silence.
Just the awkward silence.
It's raw.
Oh,
It's
thank-
real.
It's kind of addictive because I'm a little tired and my mind's kind of wandering.
Gotcha.
So
All right,
It's
well,
past midnight anyway.
here on Planet Junction, finishing us out, I'm the dude here with...
I'm Rage.
you're here with Matt, and Matt's signing out.
Later, peeps.
So long. Join us next week for another edition of Planet Junction.
Do-do-do-do.